if it's good clarification, we go forward. Honestly,
He's not intending to harm anybody, you know, anybody's honor or anything like that. It's for clarification, inshallah, make bayin the manhaj. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. This inshallah is a clarification, ya ikhwan, of some of the aspects of the dawah in Leeds, how we believe, me and Bashara and the ikhwa, they believe that the dawah was destroyed in Leeds. From the people who do not know, obviously it's something new for them, but the people who was here from the dawah, like yourself, Tahir, Afzal, Sajjaad, Bashara, like myself, and some other brothers who are not present today, they know how the dawah was when we first came here to Leeds, and the dawah started, the dawah of Tawheed, the dawah yeah, the Salafi dawah. A bit nervous, yeah, I've never done anything like this before. So we just have some points that we wanted to explain to the ikhwa. One was regarding the individual whose name was Abu Fadl, and sometimes, depending on who you speak to, he has different names.
Muhammad Jamal.
Muhammad Ban?
Muhammad Jamal.
Muhammad Jamal.
Abu Karam.
Yeah, so depending on who the people who do not know about this man is from Egypt. That this is what we knew from him. He was from Egypt. He came to Leeds.
No.
Safety car, it's alright.
No. So this man, Abu Fadl, who came to Leeds, and he established a few circles. Some of them circles were in the university. Sometimes it was in the house in Leeds 6 where he was teaching Arabic as well. And other places as well. One of the places where he established his circles as well was his house. And the people who we seen was very close to. And this time, ya ikhwan, is when we was new to the dawah. So me personally, I was new. Afzal, he was new to the dawah. And these brothers like Tahir, our brother Bashara, and brother Sajjaad, they was already practicing before us. So it's the time when we came new to the dawah. So he's new to dawah Salafiyya, what is Salafiyya. And this individual, we saw that he had a close relationship to one individual who's in this room today. His name is Sajjaad. A very close relationship to this individual who we classed as having the most knowledge, me personally, amongst us at that time there. And whatever really and truly Sajjaad said, me personally, whatever he said, because I knew him to be a trustworthy brother, I would take as if, alhamdulillah, this is my brother, and I would take my deen from him. That if you would say that, recommend me this individual or recommend me that, I would take from it. And we do not raise no one above Allah. And as this individual started proceeding his dawah, we started realizing a few things. First of all, Bashara, who was the first one to leave this individual when he realized the errors of this man. Then afterwards was me and myself, and the brother called Afzal was sitting in front of you. After a while, we left, but the first person to leave was Bashara, from amongst us brothers here. But the other people who were still around this individual was like Tahir, who was there in front of you, and brother Sajjaad. These are the brothers and other brothers as well, like Dawood. At that time, he was there with this individual as well. But the people who left was Bashara, then Afzal and myself. So from his dawah, first of all, we found out that he said, and this is between me and Bashara when we researched this matter, that he said he had studied with many teachers. Can I just
interject there? Depending who you spoke to, if you spoke to one brother, he will say Shaykh Muqbil 10 years. Speak to a different brother, it was Hudayfi for 10 years. And it was Abdul Mohsin al-Abad for a number of years. It was Muhammad al-Madkhali for a number of years. It was, he had many different teachers. And depending who you spoke to, the answer that came back was always different.
And you had the story on the tape.
Yeah.
Also, he had a degree in about 5 different subjects.
So when we added up all the years, I think it was over 100 years
About 40 years.
Yeah, that he did this individual who came. But we seen that this is the time when our brother Ilyas was in Bradford, was doing the circles in Leeds University as well at that time. And these are the circles I used to go to. Either I would go with Abu Fadl when he was giving his lessons, when Sajjaad would be translating sometimes in some lessons, or I'd go to a university where Ilyas would be giving these circles. So that time, I remember Ilyas was the one who was giving the dawah in Bradford and Leeds was Ilyas. He was the one who would go all around and give the dawah. So this individual Ilyas, we saw that when Abu Fadl and Ilyas, they never got on with each other. Obviously because Ilyas is the one who mostly was in the dawah in Leeds and in Bradford, and Abu Fadl just came. So then he started his politics that obviously we wasn't aware of because we was new to the dawah. But as time has tell, as Shaykh Salih Fawzan says, ahyanan, sometimes the people what they have in their heart, sometimes it comes out upon their tongue. As we know, the people of bid'ah and the people of desire, they can hide everything except for their companionship. They cannot hide that. So anyway, we realized from this individual, Abu Fadl, and our brothers, especially from the university side, like brother Sajjaad and a few other brothers who was around, I can't remember all the names, Harun, and a few other brothers, the brothers don't know who was around. They had a really close relationship with this man. So obviously, as we know our brothers to be good, we took. So they had their circles there, we'd go there. We, mashallah, we reminded of the dawah, we think, alhamdulillah, this is our brother. And then once there was a dispute between Ilyas and Abu Fadl on the issue of where he studied. Because Ilyas arose a question about where has he studied, this man. So there's Abu Fadl, and if you can help me in this, he came with some documents, I think, to show that he has studied in Medina or Mecca. I can't remember clearly.
Medina.
If I made any mistake, explain it now. So he studied somewhere, and he showed that, look, I've studied in this place. So he brought his documents to show, look, this is where I've studied. But this individual, we realized as well, sometimes he would go and give khutbah. And we heard once he gave a khutbah in the Brixton. And the only mosque we knew in Brixton was the one, Ibn Taymiyyah. Is that what it's called, isn't it? Now that time, we're talking about now, how many years now we're talking? How many years are we going back now?
You're going back about 5 years.
6 years.
6 years is what we're speaking about now. Okay, things change now, remember. But 6 years ago we spoke about. So anyway, while we was here, this individual gave a khutbah there. And then we asked to find out if they gave a khutbah with the brothers who was there. They said, no, this man never came here. And the only place we knew there that the people where he could give a khutbah was a jihadi masjid. So this individual would go give a khutbah there and come back. And we think, alhamdulillah, this man's a man of sunnah and he's teaching the people of tawheed. I think he started teaching the book of, I can't remember the book, exactly the book of tawheed that he started. Could you remember, Sajjaad, which book he taught us?
Tahawi, Sharh, al-Aqidah, Tahawi.
So he started with this deep book, Allah Musta'an. So we know the ulama, none of the ulama mentioned that we start with Aqidah Tahawi, rather we start with Rasul al-Thalatha, Qawaid al-Arba'a, Rasul al-Sitta, and these books that the ulama mentioned. None of them ever mentioned Aqidah Tahawiyya, that we start with this book first. So this individual was teaching, and obviously when someone teaches you, your heart goes towards him. You start becoming close to this individual. So while we was getting close to this individual, I remember we had a lesson with him on fiqh, and it was the issue of raising the hands. And my opinion was that when you come back from ruku, you put your hands back on the chest. Taking the opinion of Shaykh bin Baz and Shaykh Badil rahimahullaah. So I had this opinion. In this lesson, when we had this lesson with him, when we was going home, Khurshid, a brother called Khurshid is not here today, who was very close to him as well. They was driving me home, giving me a lift home, and this brother Abu Fadl, he was in the car with him. And he said to me, how come you never, follow this opinion that I showed you clarity that, through this book that you're supposed to let your hands go? I said I was confused about the issue, I don't know. So he got angry with me. So anyway, when he got angry, he dropped me off home. The next day, we had a stall.
Sorry, can I just say, I was there in the car with you.
Oh, okay, mashallah.
So I can just back that up, yeah?
Okay.
And you don't have to agree with me on this, yeah?
Yeah.
But some of these things, obviously, that's just a personality, so it doesn't...
No, it's linking onto something that I'm going to come to here.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, just for the record, that if somebody just says, oh, these are personality things, but like you say...
No, the issue is here, as we know the ulama...
In the car, sorry, they said, because she'd stopped the car and said, look, I'm disappointed in you. He says that this guy's teaching us, yeah, he's told us this, yeah, that you shouldn't put your arms back there, or you should, yeah, whatever.
So anyway, the point, what I mean from this part, what I'm mentioning here, is that the next day we had a stall around the road. I don't know if he was there that day. And I told Sajjaad, this brother here, about the scenario and about how he is. And he said to me, you should go to him and sit with him and benefit from him. So because he was my brother, I didn't have no understanding. I took, inshallah, let's go. Because you remember Sajjaad that day on Round the Road when you told me this?
Right, there are several issues already, right, that need to be discussed first. The problem is now, if I stop you at every point in which you speak and I clarify it, then it's going to elongate the discussion, and it's already now 10 to 10. So I advise you, Intizar brother, to make it brief, to the point, and then I can respond. I don't want to stop you at every point in which it requires clarification, because so far you've spoken about this issue and you've neglected to mention a single date, except when I told you it was in 96, 6 years ago.
My brother, the issue is not about the date, the issue
no, it's very important.
If I'm speaking about,
Intizar brother,
I'm
do you know why it's
I'm-
very important?
I'm speaking, can I explain
Because
something?
the first, when Abu Fadl first came, and you neglected to mention this, I was sat in the mosque in Leeds 6, and that was in 1995. And it was after Maghrib, and I turned round and there were two Egyptians there. I didn't know they were Egyptian, but there were two people there. And one of the brothers, Talib, and you all know who Talib is, Abu Abdullah, the one who we call when we have a problem with the jinn. Talib Abu Abdullah, he came and he said, this brother has studied in Medina and he is going to teach you, he's going to start lessons. So Talib Abu Abdullah is the one who first introduced Abu Fadl to the other brothers, because we had no knowledge of him until he first introduced him. Just like 4 years earlier in 92, in the beginning of 92, when Abdullah ibn Yusuf al-Judayah came from Kuwait, and he was assisted in his passage here by Abu Abdullah. And when Abdullah ibn Yusuf al-Judayah first came and he started to teach the brothers, i.e. Abu Abdullah Talib and Kamal and his brother Adnan, then Talib was the first person who advised us to go and sit with this person. So now let me speak, brother, because first of all, what I want to do is explain, because some of the brothers will not know me, and it's important to mention this, is that the first issue, when I first came to Leeds in 1991, I first, alhamdulillah, started practicing because I met two brothers who introduced me to the da'wah, and they introduced me by way of food, because I was a first year student at the time and I was always hungry. So Hassan, the brother, he used to have dinner in his house. There used to be about 8 or 9 brothers there, and they all used to sit down together and have dinner. So he used to invite me, and I thought this is good, because I would benefit from their sitting and I also benefit from the food. So I started attending, and at that time I had very little knowledge. Now I have little knowledge, so I don't say for a single moment that I'm a person of knowledge, but the point is, we're now talking about 11 years ago, an incident that took place 11 years ago when I first started practicing and came onto the da'wah. Now I remember,
you're doing the same thing what you're telling me about.
yeah, but the point is that now I'm giving dates so the brothers can put things in perspective.
You know, brother, I told you I came new to that da'wah that time, so I never knew about Talib introducing these things.
So now I'm going to explain the method.
You got this matter now, so I'm not telling you.
Which one would you like to do? Would you like to speak first and clarify how you understand it, or would you like me to do it?
You know what, I'm explaining to you from my perspective. I
Right,
you
you
like
do
I
that
told you from the
first.
beginning. I said we
Okay.
came new to the da'wah, this is
Intizar,
what we
brother,
saw.
you do that first, then I'll speak. You
That's what I was
complete
doing.
it.
That's what I was doing.
That's what the brother was
And that's what I was doing anyway from the
Alhamdulillah,
beginning.
you do it.
But then you'll get
No,
an
no,
opportunity,
okay.
inshallah, as well.
Can I just interject here? I'm going to come from a completely different angle here, and I'm going to refer back here, which the date here, if you want to be the date here, was the date of the conference in Bradford here. Here, when you approached Wasim here and asked him here, was there any consultation here with the brothers in Bradford here in organising this conference?
Yeah, but
here,
this is
now,
this.
no, here.
Which issue? But which issue do you want to discuss
No,
now?
but
Many
no,
issues.
but let's start with this one. The reason why I'm saying this, brother, is because there's been so many sincere advisors here coming to Leeds here and advising us to be Ikhwaniyah.
So
And that's the
now
reality
we've
of it,
moved
brother.
from the issue of Abu Fadl to an incident that took place
It
in
all
Bradford.
comes with bringing it down the basics.
Which one do you want to discuss?
Go to this one now. Let's go to
No,
this one.
let's start off with Abu Fadl. Let's
No,
start
no.
off with Abu Fadl. Carry on, Intizar.
First you're asking him which one you want to discuss, then you say
Intizar,
let's start
let's
Abu Fadl.
start with Abu Fadl. And let's discuss
what
it.
you
Dave,
need to do,
Dave,
what you need to do is just write a list of Because obviously, with the time that you've got, need to allocate certain time to each of the points that need to be discussed. Whatever. So you need to give priority to certain things and maybe leave other things out.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't think that it's going to go anywhere. So what you need to do is have an agreement as to what are the points that need to be discussed, whether it's Abu Fadl or whatever the issues, and agree on however many can be dealt with in the time that we've got, and just restrict it to that. So I think there needs to be some sort of agreement between people involved as to what are the points that need to be focused on specifically, rather than going the way it is.
Sheikh, can I just say, yeah? I think it's, I mean, I've got nothing to do with these brothers, thought of this, whatever, yeah? But because maybe things happening now, like you're saying, there's two issues in it now as well, yeah? People coming down to you and giving you a Qur'an or whatever, yeah? Right? Because things are happening now, yeah? The thing is, we're thinking that since them times, yeah, we haven't had clarification of what your, what your situation was. So because things are happening now, we're thinking, well, I've always thought this as well, that never got finished. It's never been clarified. I hear that the brothers doing circles in, where is it? Nelson, yeah?
Nelson.
And Keith and stuff like that. But I always think in my head, yeah, there's doing circles, but I've never been clarified as to what his stance was on that situation, because that guy clearly wasn't Salafi, yeah? Right, as I understand it.
Which guy?
Abu Fadl, yeah.
But now we're returning to Abu Fadl again.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that the new issues are here, yeah?
No, but
the point is, sorry, the new issues are here, but what's making us think is we need to clarify it in the first place, yeah? We never clarified in the first place back then what your situation is, and now they're connected.
Sahih. That's why.
So I think the brother should finish. I think the brother should finish.
Do you know what?
No.
To be inshallah, you explain yourself.
Right, let me explain.
That's more better.
Right,
you explain
alhamdulillah.
Briefly and concise.
Yeah, no, then inshallah, you explain yourself.
No, I think if you write a list of points, it'll probably be better. Because they might go out of control again, you see, if you come in or
whatever. If you remain silent and allow me to explain, then inshallah it won't happen.
I will, inshallah.
Right. So, first of all, I was introduced to the Salafi Dawah by these two individuals, Hassan and Faraz. At that time, the situation in England was such that you would have people travelling all the way from London to come and deliver a circle. You would have that. So you would have, for example, Abu Sufyan, and you'd have Abdul Rahim Green, and you would have other individuals like Abu Alia coming to the mosque in Leeds 6, the Ikhwani mosque, to deliver a circle. Because at that time there's no doubt in these people. So metis continued, but then we realised that we needed some type of knowledge which was structured and organised. So then Abdullah ibn Yusuf al-Judayah came. So he started giving lessons. And at that time when he first came, he was with the Salafis. But then we noticed after a short period of time his association changed from the Salafis to the Ikhwanis, and he started to alter some of his opinions regarding the Isbal, regarding the beard, regarding working with individuals, and so on and so forth. So the more that he came closer to the Ikhwan in these matters, then the more we distanced ourselves from him. Then several years later, Abu Fadl came, and Abu Fadl in the beginning was with the Salafis. So Talib was the one who introduced him. And Abu Fadl was different to Abdullah ibn Yusuf al-Judayah for two reasons. First of all, he never had his knowledge, because he was known for his knowledge of hadith and aqidah. If in matters of fiqh, he was of his own opinion and not in accordance with the opinions of the major scholars. But as for Abu Fadl, he neither had his knowledge, and this was the second point. He had flaws and defects in his character. And those flaws and defects in his character, I realized them straight away. Because when you said, and Sajjaad had a close relationship with him, that was not true. I used to accompany him for one reason, and that was because I wanted to improve my Arabic. Because at that time, my primary concern was to learn Arabic, because I saw the brothers around me, including the two who introduced me to the Dawah, and they were not involved in learning Arabic, nor was there any teaching of it. I wanted to improve my Arabic. So I realized that this man, he had flaws and defects. So he would behave in a certain way one day, and the next day he'd behave in a different way. But nevertheless, Talib was the one who introduced him. He started to give lessons. Now, the day before we were due to start our lessons, I received a telephone call from Ilyas, who wasn't happy. The reason being is because at that time the dawah in Leeds and Bradford was it was organised together. Even though in reality we did different activities, but the idea was it was that to be organised together. So Ilyas wasn't happy, and the reason why I was not happy was because we had decided to start having lessons, right, on recommendation of Talib, Abu Abdullah, and Abu Fadl was to do it. But Ilyas hadn't been consulted in relation to the lessons. The reason being because neither him nor the brothers from Bradford would attend those lessons. Rather, in 1995, at the beginning, when I started to teach Arabic in the green room, then none of the brothers from Bradford used to attend. So I realised then that, and none of them knew Arabic, I realised then that these brothers are going to find it difficult to progress. In addition, when we used to go to Bradford for the tajweed lessons from those of the brothers who used to attend, we noticed that the ones who used to attend were the ones from Leeds. As for the ones who were from Bradford, we used to meet them on the football pitch after the conclusion of the lesson. Then I noticed again that these brothers are not going to prosper if they carry on upon this way. But nevertheless, things progressed. Abu Fadl himself, there was no doubt that there was doubt about this individual. There was no doubt about that. Because in his speech, he wasn't consistent. So on one occasion, I used to speak to him about his time in prison. And he mentioned that, yes, I was in prison on such a time, because I remember taking him to the physiotherapy department in Leeds LGI. And he said, yeah, this injury was caused because I was in prison. So I said, you're in prison? He said, yes. I said, when? And he told me the dates. I said, who were you with? And he said, I was in prison with Abu Ishaq al-Huwaini. On another occasion when I asked him about it, he said, no, I was never in prison with Abu Ishaq al-Huwaini. And I thought, that's a strange thing, because you remember if you were in prison with somebody like this. But then he mentioned I was in prison with Umar Abdurrahman. So the point is that the person himself had problems with his character. I
that
knew
character
that.
is not manhaj, no, Sajjaad.
No, well, he no, but the problem is at the time.
That's manhaj, not character.
No, because at the time he wasn't consistent in his speech. As for what he taught in his lessons, the Tahawiyah, the Udda, the book Al-Udda of Hanbali Fiqh, as for what he taught in his lessons, from what I knew at that time, he never said anything that differed with the opinions of the major scholars. And do you know the reason for that? Because on one occasion when I sat with him and we were explaining the definition regarding al-ibadah, and we came across what Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen said, that al-ibadah ibaratun an tadallul, that ibadah, part of it is a tadallul, to submit yourself for the sake of Allah. He mentioned, oh, I've never read this before, I've never read this statement, this definition of ibadah, and he could see from the expression on my face that I didn't like that he spoke about Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, and I didn't like it.
Why didn't he speak and clarify to the people after knowing, having knowledge of that matter?
Let me finish.
So control yourself.
I control myself for many years, on this matter.
I said to him, but here it is, the statement that he mentions in the Sharh of al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyah, that ibadatun ismun jami'un kamil li kulli ma yuhibbu Allah wa yarda min al-aqwal wal a'mal al-zahira wal batina. This definition is there, and this is what Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said. So then he remained silent. But the point is that he made a reference to Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, and he made it because he wanted to criticize him. But when he saw from me that I wasn't going to accept that, then he remained silent. Later on, when I heard from Iftikhar that he had mentioned something about Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, I went to him and I said, what did you say about Shaykh al-Albani? And he said, oh, he's misunderstood my statement. I said, how? He said, because when I was speaking about Shaykh al-Albani, then it was because I was trying to emphasize that Shaykh Ibn Baz rahimahullah has also performed work upon hadith regarding Sahih al-Bukhari. So the point is that he would always have some type of explanation. But now the important issue is that period was from 1995 to early 96, right? So it was about a year. When I left Leeds, when I left Leeds, that was in the summer of 96, right? It was in June, July, because by September, then I was on the plane to Saudi Arabia. So the length of time that I actually knew Abu Fadl and the length of time that he was here teaching the brothers was not actually a long period of time. But there's no doubt, and I say this, right, without fearing anyone, la lawmatul la'im, is that the person himself, right, there's no doubt, as I said, that there was doubt in that person. But he was the type of person who tried and conceal it, and he would try and deceive the people. Alhamdulillah, in the end, what happened? In the end, nobody was left with him except Iqbal. And from what I understand now, even Iqbal isn't left with him. Now the second point is that.
Can we just stop there?
No, the second point, and this is important, is it's very easy now, like Intizar mentioned, that look how he started teaching Sharh al-Aqidah al-Tahawiyah when he should have started with the book Usul al-Thalatha. It's easy now to say 6 years later that this was his mistake and this was his mistake and this was his mistake. It's easy to say that because now you know that these are the books that should have been taught. Now you know these things. Intizar, brother, my excuse is jahl. At the time I just did not know and I didn't have sufficient knowledge in order to realize, for example, that he should really have started with Usul al-Thalatha. I simply did not know. As Ibn Mas'ud said, "Man alima shay'an falyakul bihi, wa man la ya'lam falyakul Allahu a'lam." I didn't know. Right? So, I hope, inshallah, right? I hope, inshallah, that whatever mistakes I made, because there's no doubt I made mistakes. وَمَا مِنَّا إِلَّا رَادٌ وَمَرْدُودٌ, as Al-Imam Malik said, that there's none amongst us except that he can refute and he himself can be refuted. And there's no doubt that somebody then, and I was 23 years old, right, 6 years ago, and I was far more ignorant then than I was now, that I made decisions and I followed courses of action that were simply not correct. And there's no way that I have the arrogance and the ignorance and the stupidity that I'm going to come here today and I'm going to say, no, everything I did with Shaykh, with Abu Fadl, everything I did with him was correct. I'm not going to say that, nor am I going to say that when he started teaching Tahawiyah, even though I gained benefit, it was correct. I'm not going to say that. This is free and distant. Alhamdulillah, I'm not from amongst the people who, if he makes a mistake afterwards, he goes to the ends of the earth in order to defend it. I've got no reason to that. At-Ta'ib min al-Dhambi kaman la yadhnab. Like the one who has no sin, right? The one who has a sin, then he makes tawbah from it, is like the one who doesn't have a sin. So as far as I'm concerned, right, I had made mistakes at that time. That the first doubt that entered my mind, I should have warned against him, and I should have told the brothers, don't sit with this person. But then, what was I going to do? Now the problem is we're speaking of should have, and if I had done this, and we can't do that because I can't go back in time.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Just some points, inshallah, that we want to say. That you said at the end that the brother had left him anyway, meaning Abu Fadl. But ya ikhwan, wallahi, Allah is a witness over this, that the people who he left upon the methodology now, not bi'aini, not shaks, not individually that he's upon it, the ideologies that these people who he said he's left, who was close with him, have become upon the ideologies of Sayyid Qutb, as my brother brought today, Hassan al-Banna, Mullah al-Mawdudi. So this individual affected loads of people, ya ikhwan. Walillah alhamd, Allah removed us from him and safeguarded us. We're not saying that that we're not free from sin, but Jalla wa Ala, he saved us from this. That is individual here, he didn't just leave upon nothing, ya ikhwan. He affected many people. Khurshid, one of the brothers he affected, when I came back from Yemen, I sat with them brothers Khurshid and Tariq for 5 hours, and we sat and we spoke about the Dawah in Leeds, and we came to the issue of this brother Abu Fadl. And then this brother Tariq said to me, Sayyid Qutb? I said, yeah, I know Sayyid Qutb. He had some mistakes, but he was a very good reformer. I said, subhanallah, where did you get this from? He goes, a brother called Ayman, an Arab called Ayman, he told me this. And this brother Tariq, ya ikhwan, he has a restaurant in Leeds 6. He has left, and he was close to Abu Fadl as well. And this is from my realizing, as the Salaf said, we judge the person by the company. And when Shaykh Salih Fawzan got a chapter upon this, that as soon as, no matter what the person's niyyah is, as he mentions in Kitab al-Shahada, I think Book of Witnesses in volume 3 of the Bukhari, when he mentions that we used to judge the people by the revelation. When the revelation stopped, we started judging the people by the zahir actions, what we see apparently. Now if we saw that these people was good, then we brought them close from their actions. And we never checked what Allah, your hasib, he said, Allah will check what's in their hearts. And then as the narration continues, if we saw evil from a person, we never brought him close. وَلَمْ نُصَدِّقُ, and we never believed him or trusted him. وَإِنْ قَالَ, even if he said, in my heart there's something good. And Shaykh Rabi mentioned this narration in his book, I think it's Naqad al-Rijal, when he's refuting one of the persons in there, that this is how we judge the people. So Sajjaad, even if you're saying, my closeness for Arabic language, this is the reason why I was close to this individual. Can I just, you let me finish please, then you continue. Yeah, like I gave you respect, give me a bit, inshallah. So as you were saying, because of the Arabic language, you found faults in him, but you also mentioned character. But then you mentioned in other places that you explained to him an issue on ilm. You explained that he's made an error in the ibadah. So you're refuting him on this matter. But you're saying also that you was jahil of this matter. So here in this matter here, when I judged you now, is that we judge you by your zahir actions. As that's how the Salaf were. We saw you together, and this is why your brother Intizar said that you was with him closely. And any of the Salaf, all the Salaf, the aqwal of the Salaf, they will judge you by that. As Ibn Masud, Abu Hurairah in the hadith that's mentioned, as Shaykh Salih Fawzan mentions, that Mar'u ala deen khalilihi, fanzu ahtakum man yukhadib. A person's upon the religion of his friend, then look to see who he takes as his intimate friend. And this is how we judge you. So this individual here, that you said that, he has left, alhamdulillah, no, but he affected people. The dawah affected many people in Leeds, destroyed loads of people. One brother who was with him, what's his name now? Abdullah, a white brother who was a Marine, and he took his shahada. I can't remember the dates. He took his shahada. But this individual that he affected, look at the dawah that they are upon now. This man Abdullah, and how he speaks about the ulama, and how he mentions them. Look at this man Abdullah, this guy. This is the man he affected. Okay, he's saying he hasn't affected Iqbal. But if it wasn't for the sins that I'll mention about this individual, I would expose this individual. But because it's sins, I refrain how he's affected this individual from sins, and his methodology now that I've heard recently from his own brother-in-law who's told me how this man Abu Fadl destroyed Iqbal. This is the recently I heard from his own brother-in-law. His own brother used to come with blue eyes and something wrong with his finger. He brought a detailed narration about his brother-in-law, how he's affected Abu Fadl, has affected him in detail, destroyed his family, split families like that. So this individual, Sajjaad, like you're saying, you never knew about him. We looked at you as your brother to teach us and help us and guide us. When these errors came to you, and I remember the incident once that I came to error, it was an issue, Bashar remembers this as well, about Osama Dhahabi, innit? The issue of that tape, yeah? You can interject to this because this is your narration.
It was in Iftikar's room in Uthman's house. There was a tape by Abu Osama on the refutation of Umar Abdurrahman. You picked it up and you chuckled and you said how can somebody who's not even a student of knowledge refute somebody who's a sheikh, was hafiz of Quran, Bukhari and Sahih Muslim.
And this man who is refuting is Umar Abdurrahman, who's in a jail in America. What is he, that Umar Abdurrahman, the blind?
Umar Abdurrahman, he's from Egypt, and he's from the Ikhwan, and he's from the people of Takwir and Khuruj, and also from those who praises the Iranian Revolution, and bringing closeness to the Rafidah and taking them an example to be followed in a revolutionary methodology.
Yeah, so this individual, can you remember that statement, Sajjaad? Can you remember what he's explained to you that time?
Right. Obviously you seem to have ignored what I said earlier. That if
no, can you
6
just remember
years ago, if 6 years ago I said this statement,
no,
and I don't believe that I said this statement of Abu Osama, because it's not from my way nor from my speech to speak in this manner, right? It's very easy for you to determine whether I said a particular statement, because then perhaps Basharati has made a mistake, as everybody makes a mistake. But what I'm saying, Intizar brother, Jazakumullah khairan, is that if I said that statement about Abu Osama, then that was a mistake. Sadara minni, which came from me. And I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who forgives all sins except shirk, forgives me for that statement. So if you now want to hold me accountable for a statement that I made 6 years ago. And I'm certain that there would be other brothers who 6 years ago, when they were 23 years of age, then they would have said or done things which were not correct. Right? And I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was ar-Rahim and al-Ghafoor, that He, out of His mercy and His rahmah, will forgive me for that statement. And if I ever see Abu Usama again, then I'll personally go to him and I'll mention that it's possible that 6 years ago I said this statement, so please forgive me for that.
Just to inject about this man Usama Dhahabi, brother can explain to you that he does have errors now. We're on about 6 years ago what happened. If you can just break down Usama Dhahabi to the people, that he has some errors and some things that you mentioned on the internet, just to make it share so the people don't think.
No, I mean, whether it's relevant at this point or not, to the discussion or to the points being raised, I don't know whether it's relevant or not.
Okay.
Is it relevant to?
Yeah, so the people who don't go away and thinking Usama Dhahabi, we can go and say.
I'll clarify that Abu Usama himself has made some statements about Shaykh Rabi'i bin Haadi, hafidhahullah, which are not correct. And he's made certain statements regarding what people should learn first and the manners and how they should do that, which are not correct, which I was explaining to my brother Amr. This is my brother Amr. How many days ago? 2 days ago. And what did I say regarding what Abu Usama had said about the comments about Shaykh Rabi?
They were incorrect.
And then what did I say about if Shaykh Rabi, hafidhahullah, had said something that was incorrect, whose position was it to correct him?
And then they just got
Right. So that's the issue of Abu Usama. Now carry on.
So this is the essence narration he brought. What's the other narration, inshallah, he brought? This all in paper, innit?
No, basically, my thing is, even after that, you knowing all this, when you came to realize, these are the mistakes of Abu Fadl, did you go back and correct the brothers, and explain to the brothers,
as Allah says,
this is the situation with this man, abandon him, and this is wrong, and this is right.
Okay, every single time I've been back to Leeds, every single time I go back to Leeds 6, and I go and visit Tariq, and sit in his restaurant, or I go and visit Ismet, or the other Kuwaiti brother, every single time I go and sit with them, I notice two things from them. First, their lack of respect and concern for the scholars, and I correct that. And I advise them that they should not behave in this way. And secondly, because they do not study anything. And it's because of their ignorance that they remain upon this state. From amongst the first narrations that I memorized from the Muwatta of al-Imam Malik, a wonderful narration, which is not a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that al-Imam Malik collected, is Ya Bunayya, the statement of Luqman al-Hakim, Ya Bunayya jalisil al-ulama wa zahimhum bi rukbatayk, which is what I mentioned. That he said to his son, "Oh my son, sit with the scholars and sit with your knees against theirs. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحْيِي الْقُلُوبِ بِنُورِ الْحِكْمَةِ." Because indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives life to the hearts بِنُورِ الْحِكْمَةِ, with the light of His wisdom, كَمَا يُحْيِي الْأَرْضَ الْمَيْتَةَ بِوَابِلِ السَّمَاءِ, just as He gives a life to the dead earth with the life-giving rain from the skies. So I've told Tariq, when he mentioned that, brother, really we shouldn't mention the word Salafi, I told him that his statement is incorrect and it opposes the way of the scholars. And Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullaah emphasized the importance of ascribing to the word the Salaf, just like Shaykh Ibn Baz and Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen in al-Waadi'ee. He mentions the importance of ascribing to the word the Salafiyun in Aqeedah and Manhaj, and that they are the correct group. As for the Asha'ira and the Maturidun, then they are not correct. And I mentioned that to them. And do you know what?
Can I just?
Do you know what? In certain instances, they retract their statements, and in certain situations, they apologize. And what those brothers need is for somebody to go to them and to explain to them. Not that I'm saying Basharati hasn't done it, Jazakumullah khair. Not that I'm saying Intizar hasn't done it.
We're missing the point. You're going off
but
another
the point
point.
Is that
going off another point there. The point is
he
here.
asked me, have I been back?
No,
and I'm telling you that I've been back to tell them.
The manhaj of when you make a error in manhaj and think, what is the methodology of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah when somebody has erred, who've made maybe errors in his manhaj and think, what does he do? Allah says, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ تَابُوا وَأَصْلَحُوا وَبَيَّنُوا. This is what you have to do. You have to what? Make tawbah to Allah Jalla wa Ala for the mistakes that we have done. Yeah? then you make rectification of that which you did, and then you make baying to the people. This is the clarification of what you do with the, not that you go individual to these people. La, these statements are made open in front of everybody. Let's refute it open, as Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah said. This was done open in front of many people. They all saw this, and many like Abdul. Look at the people now. Let me explain.
When I was
Abdullah,
invited,
I'm finishing. You're not letting me finish.
But I
Abdullah,
haven't finished my statement because you're responding because of your ignorance. You don't know something about what's happened, so now you're talking. When I was invited to do a circle there in the bookshop, when I went there, I emphasised this aspect of following the way of the Salaf.
You haven't clarified them to what's happened from the man before. How you explain to them about the manhaj of the Salaf?
Brother,
when you haven't clarified to them what the issue happened in the first place.
And I went and I explained it to them.
My brother,
just as I explained it on every.
My brother, we're on about the issue.
You know what your problem is, Intizar? You know what your problem is?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
It's that you're going. What you're doing is.
I think there's a misunderstanding between. Just for the benefit of the people who are sitting here, because obviously we don't want to make it look as if, you know, this is just like a problem and issues being raised for nothing. Just so the people understand what's going on, I think it's good to make them realise the benefit in this and what's actually taking place, which is that going back to some of the points that Sajjaad made earlier, which is that really in this country, when you look at the history of the dawah in this country, beginning from let's say 1990 to the situation that we've arrived at now. At the beginning, many people thought that we thought that we were actually Salafis or upon the Salafi dawah, and that's not true. There was nobody who was upon the Salafi dawah, in the sense that they're upon the Salafi manhaj, the clear pure Salafi manhaj, and the dawah as it should be done. Rather, what we had in that time was people like Jimas, Abu Muntasir, and people of that nature, Abu Ali, and people like that. And that dawah at that time was just a dawah that had confusion in it and aspects of some of the thoughts of Abdurrahman Abdul Khaliq, and you know, so the clear Salafi dawah didn't emerge up until 1996 and onwards, when some of the sheikhs came from abroad, like Shaykh Muhammad al-Madkhali, Shaykh al-Anjari, Shaykh Abdul Burgess and others, and they brought out certain issues that we in this country were not really aware of, issues which had affected the dawah greatly in the Arab lands, and issues which really they brought in certain ways of thinking from the innovators into the ranks of the Salafis. Prior to that time, there was no clarity in the dawah at all. From I'm talking about 1996, prior to 1996. So since that time, 1996, till the time that we've arrived at now, you found that, generally speaking, the link with the scholars has increased further and further, and there's been more and more clarity about what actually is the proper, true Salafi methodology. And within that period of 5-6 years, there have been many tribulations as well, many fitnas which have emerged. The fitna of Adnan Arur, the fitna of Iyaad Turat, the fitna of al-Maghrawi, the fitna of al-Ma'rabi, many things which have happened, as a result of which people have become more and more clear about what actually is the Salafi methodology. So now the point that's being made is that within that period of time, from like 1990, 1996, 1997, when there wasn't really that clarity in the methodology, we found that there were people who were involved in dawah and who were involved in calling people to Islam, and they gained prominence in that time, right? In the time in which there was no clarity. People like Abu Ali, people like like Abdurrahim Green, people like Abu Muntasir, people like Suhaib Hassan, all these like types of individuals. And not until after these things began to be clarified did we truly understand what exactly were these people really upon, and what is the methodology that they're upon, what is the methodology that they're actually implementing. Because as I said before, prior to that time there was no clarity in the dawah at all, and people were thinking that they were attached to the Salafi dawah, but they didn't know actually what Salafi dawah was. Which is why one of the students of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, when he came, Shaykh Abu Anas, in 1995 or 1996, he said to some of the brothers that unless you clarify these issues and you become clear on these issues, then in 4 or 5 years time from now you'll be saying that you're Salafi, but you'll be Ikhwani, right? Because obviously you won't know any better, right? You'll be thinking just by name only, you're attached to this dawah without knowing exactly what are its realities, what are the fundamentals, what are the stuff like that, whatever. So I think what's taking place here, just for the brothers who like are very confused and don't know what's going on, is that because of because now we're finding out that people like Abdul Rahim Green's upon this, and he's upon the Ikhwani way, and Bilal Phillips is upon this, and all these people, what they're actually implementing in their dawah is not actually upon the Salafi methodology. So because historically speaking, certain situations happened, like in Leeds and with the dawah in Leeds, and because of certain like relationships that were held between certain people, they're just trying to make some clarification as to trying to get some clarity as to when did people break off from this individual Abu Fadl, which apparently he seems to be like someone who's upon takfir and whatever, and to what extent were they influencing. That type of thing needs to be cleared, and that's what's actually taking place here. They're just trying to get some clarification either way to try and understand what actually went on, and that there's no like clear statement or clear position that came across from the people who left him or who remained with him.
That's right.
So that needs to be clarified and made clear, so that if it's made clear, then everybody's happy and everybody's fine, so that people know where people stand. That's basically what's going on for the people who sit in and watch it.
It's part of the manhaj as well to ask for clarification.
Yeah.
And find out who you're learning off.
Of course, this is from the manhaj of the Salaf, because as one of the Salaf said, this is not narrated by al-Muallimi, and Shaykh Rabi also quotes it as well, that whenever the Salaf used to desire to write knowledge from anyone, then they would ask about him to such an extent that it would be said to them, do you desire to marry this person? Meaning, either meaning marry this person to your daughter, or meaning marrying myself in the form of a like emphasis or whatever. And also many of the narrations that when the fitna occurred amongst Ahlul Sunnah, then we look to see who goes. So that from these narrations, generally speaking, from the manhaj of Ahlul Sunnah now, is that and it's always been that whenever people wish to take knowledge from people, they want to know who they are, and who they've studied with, and who they've mixed with, and who they've studied under, and these kind of things, so that people actually have some sort of serenity and have ease that they're taking knowledge from someone who's steady and firm and upon the right aqidah and upon the right manhaj and who implements it. This is what I think is trying to be determined from what I can gather from what or from the way Intizar is coming across. So yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, all I'm saying, inshallah, Ikhwan, and this is for the dawah, that we need clarification now.
From whom?
From yourself to the people.
Relating to what?
From the past, what happened. The people who was...
Are you speaking about Abu Fadl?
Yeah, I'm on about the people who was affected near him and the people who was around, because his other brothers, he knows himself. At that time, yeah, from him. Yeah,
and as I said, I'm more than happy, I'm more than willing, I'm more than content and pleased to go and speak to them all again regarding Abu Fadl. I'm more than happy to do that. Arrange it and I'll do it.
I think this is good. We can get this man, all these people, and then get the brother to explain all the situation about Abu Fadl and everything about the dawah.
No, it's not like that. Because he needs explanation himself. We need to clarify, because he's the one who started it. From our point of view, from we seen, he's the one who caused it. And me and Bashar came that this was
caused a split.
He was part of the split, because he was with this individual that I took it. This is what we're saying from the Dai statement, unless you have something to say, inshallah. Say it now, inshallah, because
what is it that you want?
Everybody's boycotting Abu Fadl. There's not one single person with Abu Fadl except for Iqbal, and Abdul Samad's probably told you.
Okay.
Who's
But look at the effect. Iqbal is an individual, a brother who's been with him for
He's from
like Sajjaad said, who introduced these people to us?
Guyana, as in the Western
Tadlees.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
He's
Same with Abdullah.
But I wasn't there to see who introduced him. That's what I'm saying.
You were there.
That's what I'm saying. When I came, I already saw him.
Yeah, but listen, what I'm saying is this. Talib was the one who introduced Abu Fadl to us. Yeah?
Right.
Talib was the one who introduced Abdullah al-Judai to us. And it was through the same people we find out, oh, he's a deviant now, and he's a deviant now, yeah? So, you were using them as a source of trust. But then, we find about Talib, oh, he's with the Qiyaturas and so forth. So everything you hear from different people, yeah, is upon trust, oh, this person's a deviant, and this person's this, and so forth. So this is how everything happened. As you learn more, you change your position. This is how it was.
No, but I'm just saying.
In the early days, we took Talib as a person of trust. Then later on, we found out he's not even a person of knowledge.
No, but
he didn't, not this and that.
I think we need to explain some points.
At that particular moment in time, statements were flying around who's Talib? He doesn't know anything. If he was your friend, if he wanted to teach you, he would have been a Hafiz of Quran and fluent in the Arabic language. Rather, he doesn't care about you. There's I was told there was Arab Salafis and there was Pakistani Salafis, or the English Salafis rather. Like, yeah, and there's two different things, and they're not Salafis. The English Salafis are not Salafis. Okay, these are the type of things that and Talib he was mocked, he was humiliated by Abu Fadl and the people with Abu Fadl, because I remember when I told Tariq
Abu Fadl is boycotted by everybody.
No,
yeah. What happened before? Talib was the one who introduced Abu Fadl to us. Yeah, we used Talib as a trustworthy brother. So if he's the one introducing, what we're going to say? No, you're a liar. We don't know any better. He says, oh, he's done this, he's done that, and so forth. Then later on, when we found out about Ayman and Abu Fadl, that they're jihadi orientated, that's when we started backing off.
You never started backing off. When did you lot back off though? I never seen you lot back off until probably last time. You lot was wallahi. I remember you were still with him for a long time. Wallahi, uqsim billah, you was with him for a long time.
Listen, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you Abu Fadl, right? Abu Fadl, everybody was around him, right?
Okay.
For circles in the green room and so forth. As people got to know, slowly, depending on people's intellect and how much information they get, slowly people started boycotting him. Now, last I heard was there was a few brothers like Tariq and Khurshid and so forth. Even they've gone.
Yeah, but look at the effect.
Brother, what do you suggest now though? You keep saying what's the effect. What do you suggest?
Brother, I've explained to you the manhaj. I said what we do now, as Amjad explained to you, that once the people have made it, you make clarification to the people. You make bayn, you clarify that this is what we did, this is the clarification. As Abul Hasan Ashrafi went up on the
people today, like in Leeds, like here,
people
who are affected by him. Well, not with him, but
they've got affected someone. They've got their own bookshop now in Leeds 6. They've got their own.
Now it's big, yeah. Like now more than here, and then there's only about 2-3 people left, because everybody, as you know,
Sahih.
Maybe this is
it's not a funny matter. Wallahi, you know what? This is Da'a ilallah, and this is Allah's deen. I'm going to smile at this mark because it's not smiling mark today.
Afzal, you continue, because what
I'm saying is that maybe something you could, any of the brothers could explain this on, is that throughout history, that when people are teaching something, you get emotionally attached to them, and then even when they're exposed, if they're being misguided, even when that person's been exposed, the people still stick with them because they're emotionally attached. So when Abu Fadl was exposed, then people still was like this, like that with him, and loved him too much. And so end up just 2-3 people left in Leeds, and all the other brothers as much as this but a lot of them were from out of town studying, but a lot of them from Leeds as well, but then they were all on different ways and stuff like this. And then what we were saying is just from what I noted, is 2 brothers. But I understand this is old now, and we're all close. So different people have become have stopped being close at different times. That's fine. But I'm just saying, one of the last people from my memory, the last people was like brother Khalil, and brother Tahir was very close in going.
His brother Tahir is sitting here.
That's what I'm saying. And no, I'm just saying that. I'm just fitting it in.
Yeah, but we recognise that this person was introduced to us. Just like, look, I'll give you another example. Just like you find out about Ali Tamimi, but before that you were listening to his 6 tapes about al-Khidaa. Just like you find out about certain Shuaib Hassan or whoever it may be. When you find out, then you can make a change of position. Until you find out, you make mistakes, you go along that path. But nobody says, Abu Fadl be all and end all.
I think what maybe he's saying then from what he said is that, okay, from an individual point of view, every person who knew that Abu Fadl was wrong or astray or whatever, they left him. However, from what I can gather is that the impact as it had overall upon the dawah in Leeds, right, in terms of like when he came and how he behaved and how he left the people when people found out what he was upon, and the fact that even though he's gone and no one's attached to him, the fact is that what he did and what he was upon has influenced a lot of other people who now are upon a certain way of thinking which is dangerous and deviant. So in order to rectify that, like, people have come together and thought, okay, now how do we rectify and how do we try to limit the damage that he's done, right? And the way to do it is that those people who were involved with him and who left him, like you guys initially, and then yourself and Sajjaad, whatever, that you make some sort of clarification and say that to the other people who were involved with him, that this is what happened, this is what the man is upon, And this is how he's left you people upon the same thought and ideology, and the people that you mix, the people that you're referring to now, like whoever it might be, like the Safar or whatever that was upon. And it's upon you to leave this dawah and to come back to what it was before he actually came. And you can, and then mention some of the results and the harms that were done, like the fact that, as he said, that everyone's like, after that time when you were all together, and then he came, then he's going, look at what's happened, everyone's just one in that direction, one in this direction, one over there, one over here, one over there, and no one's actually. So in order to limit and reduce the impact that he had, and try to bring the people back, and at least have some like connection, so they can come back and like learn again, is for the purpose of that if there's any clarification that needs to be made from anybody, that they make it so that people can say, well, people can at least have something to refer back and think, well, maybe there's an admonition for them, maybe there's something for them to think about, maybe there's something for them to realise. I think that's what that's what
do you know what? No, please, Abdullah. You know, after that's come, the issues with Brother Sajjaad, there's still a few up to today that we need to clarify. You haven't explained it, I'll have to explain it. This is very important. Here the issues that we still have with Sajjaad, please. No, because then everybody's going to make a point.
Yeah, but you see, look, end of the day, right? In the early days when Abu Fadl started giving circles.
I'm not speaking about early days now, I'm going up to today. I want to go to today. I want to go some about the brother, some issues that I want to clarify.
End of the day, I used to go to Abu Fadl's house, I used to see Basharat sitting there by himself. What was that about? No, I'm just saying, I used to see Basharat sitting there by himself. I think, what's going on here? Right, no, look, isn't that right? I used to see you there. I used to see other individuals with the person and so forth. But like I said,
and I was never by himself with him, because he never got on me from day one. Alhamdulillah.
No, I didn't mention you.
Alhamdulillah, he kept me far from him.
But see, sometimes you have a personality clash, But the thing is, the way to do it is once you find the proof against him, that's when people started moving backing off. Like Sajjaad said, the guy that introduced this person to us was Talib. And I was the one who confronted Talib. Idris is my witness. I went to Talib's house and we spoke about this matter. But this was a long time ago, and everybody boycotted him. They found out what he was like, what he was about, and so forth.
Talib, you're not thinking about the effects of the dawah.
When you're talking about Ismat and the bookshops, in the other side, they're not influenced by the Fadl. They're influenced by other people.
That's how he started.
Like the other guy that came, Abdul Hakim from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, but that's afterwards. They came to pop.
They're separated from him, but
they come after that. What I'm saying about Sajjaad, the issues
but the thing is, look, you got to talk to individuals like Ismat and like Khurshid and like Abdullah on a one-to-one level. Abu Fadl's done and gone his history. We made a mistake, no problem. But the thing is, you see, then other people are stepping in like Abdul Hakim and this and that and so forth. You have to talk to these individuals if you...
No, inshallah, wait. Pause it, innit? Pause it, inshallah. No. Pause it. Wait till it...
Because I remember everybody used to be there. Everybody used to be there, Sahel, whoever was there. I remember everybody used to Iftikhar, Askar. There was not one brother that didn't used to go there.
But the point is, there's no point in saying anybody recommending,
No, do you know what is? What I want to say is that that was that scenario, innit? I'm telling you about a manhaj when somebody's teaching and the people want to go and learn. Then we continue with Brother Sajjaad, another scenario that we need to explain. There's a brother in Bradford called, what's his name now? That's what I'm saying.
Talk about it and we'll get
on. No, we haven't finished this issue.
I'm
still waiting to hear from you what you would like me to do in Intizar.
It's not
in order that I can do it.
This is my outside perspective from the brothers here. Is that what does Sajjaad need to do to break the link between Sajjaad and Abu Fadl? That's the issue.
No, it's not that. It's not the issue. It's not the issue.
Well, see, brother, the last time I saw him was about 6 years ago.
It's broken.
It's not about the issue. My brother,
it's like saying,
That's what I said. Sajjaad, that's what I said when I first started. Let's have it with the people you used to bring everybody. That's what I said from the beginning. Who do you want it? You said let everybody come.
No, but he's made a valid point. So he didn't know. That's
he's going to answer it by going on to the other bits. He's going to answer it by going.
So what I'm saying now.
So now the issue of what would you like me to do in Intizar? I'm asking you. Tell
me.
Okay,
let's continue, please. Let's continue now. The issue here now. Then we hear another thing now. There was a conference in Keighley arranged by what's his name? Taj.
No, let's
Taj.
deal. No,
I want to continue
until we deal with
Sajjaad,
the issue of Fadl.
Do you know why, Sajjaad? Because you're giving the dawah now and you're teaching the people.
No,
we want to clarify everything.
I remember one of the benefits I learned from Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah when he was speaking with that jihadi is that he wanted to carry on going to the next issue.
My brother, I'm not a jihadi though, and I'm not a jihadi, and I explained to you.
No, I never accuse of that. But the point is, if you're going to discuss something, then discuss one issue.
Yeah, I just want to continue. Yeah, I'll finish with Abu Fadl, but you will let me finish the rest. This is so important, Ikhwan, please. We need to clarify this. It's not happening every day.
Finish with Abu Fadl.
So issue
what was the conclusion?
The issue is here.
That he's got no affiliation with him.
But the thing is here.
He's got no affiliation with him, and it's been a long time.
Okay, from here, from Abu Fadl, yeah. That we make clarification in it to the people who was there at that time. You make clarification to the people, and then we continue upon the issue of today. Now the people that we heard and from the brothers.
Just wait. So now it's 20 to 11. So your conclusion is, and you make clarification to the people. And about half an hour ago, I told you that I was trying to do that. And about 10 minutes ago, I said, and arrange it, and we'll do it. So then you carried on talking. And now we've got to a stage. I asked you for the conclusion. You're saying, make clarification.
Okay,
I already said I
what I'm
want to do
explaining
that.
to this brother, maybe he doesn't understand his matter. What I'm explaining, he's on about going individually and telling them.
I said, however you wish to do it, then I'll do it. And I made that clear in a manner which you'll understand.
Okay, inshallah.
But then you carried on and you persisted.
Okay,
this is now we're going into the area where we're elongating the talk unnecessarily.
No, it's not necessary. Wallahi,
this is unnecessary because I told you
before we leave here,
whatever needs to be done that I'm going to do.
No, we haven't. There's still.
You know, before everybody's hanging around with Talib. Then they found out, he's with the Iyaad. What did they do?
Well, we left him, we got our own dawah centre, and then when we realised that he never had no dawah centre, he said to us, come listen, I'll explain to you, you brought the point, we're going to clarify it here, because we don't follow people, and when the haqq comes we remove inshallah ta'ala. Let me explain, no, but when the people knew they was wrong, they were still with him. It's not the same, is it? When the people knew Abu Fadl was wrong, they're still with him. But when we found out about Talib with Iyaad, we left the Iyaad because he was trying to implement a dawah centre in Leeds, with Iyaad, where he said it's going to be one of the famous one. Inshallah, it's going to be, loads of people will come to it. When he got that dawah centre, the only one who was fighting was me. Nobody was with me when I was fighting him. I remember in that room by myself when he said, let's get a dawah centre there. And he said, come back to the dawah centre. I said, no, we've got our own dawah centre. We don't need your dawah centre. And he tried, wallahi, from years, tried to bring his politics, Arab politics, and bring us back to that dawah centre. And we was fighting. Wallahi, alhamdulillah, helped us. They tried everything to bring us, maybe in the sense of food, close, bring your hearts close together. Then he said, let's go to Akika. Where are we doing Akika, Abu Abdullah? We're doing Akika at the Iyaad Centre. I said, why are we doing it here? We've got a centre now. No, but it's bigger. Okay, that's another politic move. Let's do it there. Then he tried in another angle. Okay, now, look, then he tried.
It's about funding.
No, let me explain to you. You explain about this, man. And I tell you, when he said to us, Iyaad, I said, Talib, we're not going to go there until this brother, all us, we sat with him and says, if you're going to give us the deeds and says our dawah centre, no Iyaad, nothing, then we're ready, give us the deeds. He changed his mind. Listen, I'm breaking down to you. Let me continue, please, about this man.
I think you should take some control. This is a waste of time.
How can it be a waste of time?
What benefit are we acquiring? You're having an argument.
Are we having an argument?
Over an issue that is finished.
Wallahi, I don't think you understand these principles, what we try to bring the understand of this dawah. This dawah is a mubarak. This issue here that he's brought here, I'm trying to explain to him.
Let's move on from this one. Let's just summarise from what the conclusion is basically. Is that
we haven't finished the other part of the
let me just summarise whatever. That basically this is the issue.
No, Amjad, did you used to take from Ali Tamimi one time?
Huh?
As you were studying, did you used to take from Ali Tamimi?
I never took knowledge from him. I took no knowledge from him.
No, but
in terms of knowledge, I didn't listen to his
but
tapes.
But you ever come across any individual that you took from and then you find out later he's a slight deviant?
I think with all due respect, brother, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the issue that's being raised is not like that specific issue. The issue that's being said, let me try and understand or explain what I've understood is that this Abu Fadl, when he came here and he was clearly upon a certain way of thinking, where he was upon with this Umar Abdul Rahman, and he was promoting certain ideas or whatever. Yeah. So what the brother is saying is that for someone to have been with him for that amount of time, and then at the same time, he's affecting other brothers, and they've gone in a certain direction and a certain way of thinking. How is it possible for a person to spend that time with him and then not have the same, or to keep that companionship and not be either affected in the same way or perceive and become aware of what this man's upon of these ideas, and not actually make it clear or make it open or to leave him? And that's the concern from what I can gather is what Intizar are raising now, but with respect to brother Sajjaad. So they're asking for a clarification or something along those lines, and that's what the issue is. This is different to what you're saying, where okay, at one time you listen to Ali Tamimi, and then maybe years later you find out that he's wrong or something. And then you leave it, and then you become wise to the situation. Then you leave it, then you abandon it when you become clear that this.
And you make it clear to others.
Yeah. So what they're saying, what Intizar is saying, is that with respect to the issue of Abu Fadl, that wasn't clear and wasn't apparent, right? When it should have been from the beginning or a certain point in time or whatever. I think that's the issue that.
But Brother Amjad, could I just make a point that if he had come initially and he had started promoting Umar Abdurrahman, do you think that Talib would have told him to give us lessons?
No, he wouldn't have.
No.
Yeah.
Do you think if he had come and he had started promoting Umar Abdurrahman, that I would have not warned the people against him?
You said you never knew that time anyway.
But you know, when I asked him about Umar Abdurrahman, right, because from the little knowledge I knew that this person was a person of innovation, and if he was now calling to him, then we warn against him. Do you know what he said to me? He said, "Oh, as for Umar Abdurrahman, when I performed Hajj with him, I asked him about the ruler, the king, and he said he's the lawful ruler. And he said, what do you say about rebellion? And he said, no, we listen and obey him. And then he said to me, and as a proof, they made him a teacher in a school in Riyadh for girls because he was blind. So this person says that to me. If he had said to me that, oh, Umar Abdurrahman, he's a scholar and we should follow him, then the matter would have been clear. It wasn't just to me who listened to him and what his speech at that time. It was Talib, it was Kehlan, it was Kamal, it was all the Arab. I wasn't the only brother there at that time. I was 23. There were brothers there who were older than me. Now I'm being used. The point is I'm being used now because I didn't at the time clarify. I just didn't know.
No, my
now,
brother
at the same time, do you know what I'll say? When I a couple of years ago, I was speaking to Basharati, and he said to me, and he said, oh, if you come to Leeds, after you finish, then come to the lessons. I said, who's giving him? He said, the only real Salafi, Talib. And now today, by Allah, today is the first day that I find out that now even Talib is upon Turath. I didn't know that before. I thought, when I heard that Talib would come back, I thought he would still be doing lessons here. Today is the first day I find out he's not. And you were advising me to go and sit with Talib. So now, what, but it doesn't matter, because you're going to make the matter clear, inshallah, and the brother's not going to be affected by it. And as Brother Amjad has already said, whatever needs to be done, I'm willing to do it. But to speak for this length of time about it...
No, do you know what? Okay, that issue... That issue...
Break up 1 second.
Please, let's finish the whole scenario.
No, because this is an important issue. It's just as important. What it was, me and Faisal were outside Islamic Centre when you were telling us about Talib. But you said you noticed things years ago. Sulaiman was there, Bashara was there, and you two were saying you noticed things years ago, but you did not tell us about it. What? Isn't this more or less the same related?
No. When you're saying about Talib, we never ever said to you that we knew things about him. We never ever told you. The issue, no, we never said you're both here. What we said, when you mentioned about Talib, was a scenario that we had when we went to Talib's house. Went to Talib's house for a brother who wanted to do ruqya there.
No, this is not the issue.
That's the whole issue where it came from. That's the whole issue where it's come from.
You said years before, we noticed things me and Bashara did.
No, that's about the Iyaad al-Raf issue. We weren't about what we're speaking about.
So why we speaking about before?
You're mixing two things. Let me explain.
Basically, what
I'm getting confused about this.
Let's explain.
He explained that here. If you were listening, he said that here from time to time, he will re-invite you to the Turaf Center, and every time he tried to re-invite you we had to combat him and battle him to the point when we said to him look, if you want us to go to that place give us the deeds, put the deeds in our hands and we'll go back there.
And we made him a condition to come to the Dawah Center and teach us not to go there.
He goes, I can't do that. Then I go, well, we don't do that.
No, his point is,
do you
is
understand
that you knew all this time. His point is, you knew all that.
You were talking about
if they're saying you knew all these faults in him, why are you calling them to the Dawah of Talib? That's what he's saying.
No, he's saying that. Okay, is that what you're saying?
No, you were saying.
Is that what you're saying?
Years before, we were spotting things out which were dodgy about this person. But we knew from years before.
But you didn't put clarity on it.
No.
Yeah,
the same thing.
No,
It's the same situation.
No, okay.
Which it sounds to me
Okay.
like.
Okay,
from
let's
everything
explain.
what
Let's
I've heard.
explain. Okay.
Suleiman, what did you hear that day?
Okay, let's explain now.
There's
Let
a
me
difference
let me
between somebody
explain.
making a mistake and somebody innovating. Do you understand that?
Now let me explain. No. Because let me explain this matter, inshallah. Now they're saying it's the same scenario now with Talib. Okay. They say let me just no.
Intizar, we're going to be here for. Let's,
No, let me explain, please. Let me explain this matter, please.
I'm not concerned.
No, he's
about
brought the
Talib.
point now. Explain it now.
Because I'm confused about this.
Okay, the issue is here now. Talib's come here. Now they're saying, okay, why is it that now you're saying that we should have clarified to the people? Why is it that no one's clarified about Talib? Let me break it down. Now, why is it not clarified Talib? We asked that Ikhwan in Birmingham. They knew that Talib was doing the circle. At this time, our brother's doing the circle. He's not affecting, meaning that we knew that Ihya Taraf is the only thing he was clinging on to. We never knew him to be deviant in his manhaj, or that he had conspiracies like. Look at two different people. What's his name? Abu Fadl and Talib. We knew him to be Salafi, this Talib. We knew Abu Anas to know him. So we knew good from this man Talib. The only issue we knew about him that he was clinging on to Ihya Taraf. Fahimed? So the issue was clear now that when the people come, they're not coming to Ihya Taraf. Look, they're coming to the Dawah Center with the Ikhwana, and they're going to refer them back to the ulama and back to the brothers who are known for the Dawah in this country. Do you understand the difference? So when we was coming here, we didn't deceive you and doing the same thing that the people did. What we're doing is somewhat different. Because when he's teaching, no, let me
Same reception
no.
that Abu Fadl was
No. Wallahi, that's not making sense. My brother, but did Abu Anas say he was Salafi? Did Abu Anas say that he was Salafi?
I don't think you understand the issues involved with Ihya Taraf and the people who are with Ihya Taraf.
Brother, the Ihya Taraf situation.
Yeah.
I know what happened with the centre.
Yeah.
That centre, that house was bought, and they tried to sell the house to Ihya Taraf, saying that we bought, it cost this much to make a profit in between as a middleman. When they use them as a agent in England, isn't that what happened?
So they're trying to make profit out of money, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's what happened. So from there, Brother
Aqidah
Murad from Manchester, who was close contact with us, started advising us and telling us about Ihya Taraf and what's happening and so forth.
No, the one who advised me clearly about Ihya Taraf was our brother Abu Khadija. He told us, and I told him we had
but Abu Khadija,
he's one advised.
2 years before that, I can't remember the time of day.
Brother.
He came and said, the only two Salafis in Britain that he thinks are, Talibul Ilm or something, is Talib and Abu Anas. He mentioned that once in Bradford in a talk, But then, as you learn more stuff, you change your...
He said Talib and Kamal.
Because Abu Anas is not from this country. Abu Anas is not from this country.
No,
He's
but
from
I remember
Kuwait.
he mentioned Talib's name.
He said from this country.
Talib. He mentioned Talib's name. I made a mistake. But I remember he mentioned Talib's name. But let's see, as he learned later on something different.
Talib, you know what? My brother, do you know what? If you understand this weighted down, this is nothing about that.
Trust me, let me answer this question. With one sentence, with one word.
Everybody's coming from, you know what, we've been...
No, but you said that you're a little bit confusing as well, Simple as this, you've got a good point there,
What you said to me
the difference is... Just wait, brother, please,
Can you remember
the difference is... No, brother.
Is that the headache?
Okay, go on.
Yeah, I told you that.
Let him finish.
Yeah, go on.
No. He's asked the question and they're answering the question.
Go on.
That's what.
Okay, finish.
Okay, go on.
No, he asked
Okay,
the
you
question.
continue. Forget him then, innit? You continue what you're saying. Go on.
You're all discussing this stuff.
Continue.
You're all discussing this stuff because he asked a question, innit?
Yeah.
So I'm finishing it about
Okay,
one sentence.
okay.
You've asked it. No.
I know, please, we will.
Bring the down
Inshallah. That's what we're
that's the whole purpose.
That's right.
Forget the mistakes that
No,
happen.
please,
People admit to the mistakes, but what shall we do?
Okay, inshallah. This is what we're going to come to. Walillah, we'll come to that.
Afzal, finish.
Confused about one little thing, right? The difference is that you're saying, look, how come they knew about some mistakes, about or some issues or something, about question marks about Talib, right? And they didn't tell you and us or whoever, right? But he just answered, that they got guidance on it. They went to people who are in contact with ulama.
No, but Afzal, his head wasn't the same as this. This is a different thing.
That's the difference. No,
that's it.
They asked this question.
Okay, let me explain to you the difference.
Yeah.
The difference is that Abu Fadl, in the basis of his aqidah and his manhaj and what he's upon, what was he upon? Takfir. So what was he upon?
Actually, Abu Khadija and the brother, I don't know if he was there that day when he came down to see. Were you there, Sajjaad, that day?
He made takfir in front of me of the Ikhwan al-Muflisin. He would lie, he would twist the hadith completely to the extent he says the hadith of the Rasul praying and the shaitan came and he was on time off so the kids can beat him in the morning. He took the beginning of that and hadith of Abu Hurairah the ending goes recite Ayatul Kursi and Allah was in the garden to protect you He took the beginning of that, the ending of that.
So he's he lies, he's non-liar.
And Abu Khadija, were you there when Abu Khadija came?
When did you make takfir of the Ikhwan?
When I was there
years ago was it?
I was there Zahid was there.
Yeah, but when?
Zahid's friend was there. Ismat was there. And you know the worst thing was
you can't remember the day and time.
What I want to know, was it during the period that I was here that you made takfir of the Ikhwan?
You possibly in Jeddah.
Basharati, right? I know basically what the jihad is called to, and during that year that I knew Abu Fadl, he didn't call to takfir.
He
might have done it. He might have done it secretly.
So he's bringing a narration. You carry on.
I remember it crystal clear.
But that was after I'd gone.
Remember it crystal clear.
Yeah, he's not saying about you. This is nothing against you.
He's
explained to you about part of this individual.
Like Ikhwan. And I stopped him and goes, what do you mean by that statement? And you know what Ismail said? He goes, I didn't make that statement. Do you know what Ismail said? He didn't make that statement. I goes, brother, I heard it. What do you mean? And it was, what's Zahid's friend?
Which Zahid's friend?
Zahid, he's from Reading or London or something.
What's his friend? Who's his friend?
I don't know his name.
Could you be a bit more specific?
Yeah, the beard.
Come on now, Ikhwan.
No,
to cut long story.
Whoever was but between them two, one of them heard it and the other one didn't. I said, brother, look, you made that statement and I heard it. What do you mean? And one of them two spoke out. Shazab, something like this.
Shazab.
It was him. One of them two spoke because I heard it.
Okay,
go.
Just to cut the long story short, because this might just run on. Basically, the point is that with this man Abu Fadl, he had many clear, open, apparent errors, which were said maybe not to each and every person. Maybe he confided in some people, he didn't confide in others. But he said certain statements to some people. If you put them all together, it shows that the man lies. He lies about his deen. He lies about he has mistakes in aqidah, the way he makes the takfir, or whatever else that was noticed about him. As for this talib, then his problem was that he works with Iyaad Taraf. And the two are not the same.
That's what I was trying to explain to
the second point is that in the course of him working with Iyaad Taraf, was he advised, and did you speak to him, and did you have...
Not me, I never advised him. I think I heard, and Allah knows best, I need to clarify this. I think it was Abu Anas who advised him.
Right.
We need to clarify this now.
And did you consult other people with respect to a situation and how you should deal with him? Did you consult with other people?
Our brothers all knew when that do we have in a dawson and this individual is here teaching us. But look, they see the difference. They try to use the same point as us as if we was deceiving the people as well, knowing fully well about his mistakes. You understand?
Now let me ask you another question. Like to put the situation in the context, is that with those guys who were still with Abu Fadl, was there any advice between you guys and them?
All the time they was getting advice. They wouldn't even first sit with us first. There was always, every time we got opportunity to speak to them, we gave them advice, we told them. Every opportunity we had, we spoke to them.
And the question I asked here, this is the outside perspective here, is that what is Sajjaad? Because clearly everyone thinks in this room that Abu Fadl is a bad guy, basically, So what does he need to do to free himself from him? And what does he need to do in order to make a clarification because of Abu Fadl? Because everyone agrees now he is someone who's a bad person.
Yeah, but we need to continue about now, Sajjaad, the issues now. Going to the conference in Keithley about
that's
we should bring to the latest date what's happening.
Of course we do, that's what I'm saying.
Because that's what I'm saying, we don't stop it there.
No.
Taj, he's got a shop in Keithley. No, shop in Bradford.
1 second, inshallah. Forget Taj.
Al-Hidayah.
Taj, forget Taj, there's no need to talk about.
Of course we're going to speak about him, we're not talk about him, because he's always mentioned his name all the time.
Just clarify this, so what is Sajjaad?
I think for the benefit of the dawah, for those people, because the dawah has clearly been harmed in Leeds because of this man and the way he came in, and the people maybe confided in him, or they accompanied him.
Can you please let him talk? Can you please let him talk?
That's besides the point, because we're not talking now whether someone recommended him or not. We're talking about now here in 2002.
Brother, just one point. The point is this, right? Say, for example, we know you now, and you tell us something, right? We take that, we trust what you're saying, and then later on we find out that it was incorrect, and you also find out it was incorrect. So you change your position, we change our position. So this is what's happened.
No, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
How is it,
brother? When did they change their position? But has your position changed?
Whose positions?
You said you
I think
changed
why
positions. They're still
from the
upon the
limited
position of what
knowledge
you
they have,
said.
yeah.
The way to
That's the
resolve this
understanding
quickly
they
and to finish
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
because we're all like,
Yeah.
you know, we don't want to stay here
Yeah.
for hours and hours, is that for the benefit of the dawah in Leeds, there may be the condition of this man and maybe the people who were with him and who left him, just to make a clarification to the other people like Open, who are like now upon whatever they're upon, that this is what the position, or the reality of this man. This is what we did wrong, and that we confided in, and we stayed with him for too long, and we clear ourselves open in front of everybody that we're not upon what this man is upon, neither then nor now, and that anyone who's upon what he's upon, or was influenced by him, or was led down the path by him in any form or fashion, then they're upon error and they should abandon him and make tawbah as well. So that the people who were in the dawah before he came can now see that most of those people who were with him have traced him to be the cause of the fitna and the separation and the cause of the problems in the dawah in Leeds. So everybody at least knows that, whether they come or not, it's their problem, but at least the bayan and the clarification has
Who should make the bayan, yeah, Amjad? Who should make the clarification?
Was with him.
Okay, but just to say, finish off now from there, he's clarified that. We've passed Abu Fadl now, it's clear. We understand that all of it.
When are you going to organise this?
Let me just go to the last few points and then we finish. Khalas. Okay.
Just whoever needs to.
Yeah. Okay.
Something.
And then Sajjaad, did Abu Khadija advise you about some people before, a couple of months ago or whatever, maybe about the dawah or anything? Do you ever have any advice from Abu Khadija about any matters concerning the dawah? Just to clarify something.
Is this a separate issue now?
No, it's the same. Link it up to the same kind of thing, but somewhat different.
The last time that I spoke to him on the telephone, right, was when I invited him to come and deliver a lecture, and he said, "Brother, I need 2 weeks' notice," and then he said, "But we should keep in regular contact."
Okay.
Then there was no contact.
Okay, have you ever heard
the time after that is when me and Imran,
Who's Imran?
this brother here with glasses, we
Yes, that's
went to
Imran.
Birmingham. Right, we went to Birmingham, and rather than me explain, right, allow Imran to explain what happened.
You explain, Shaka. We're speaking about you.
Right,
we don't
so
want
we
Imran
went
to
to
explain.
Birmingham. We went to the bookshop, and we waited in the bookshop for about 45 minutes, and we were browsing the books, and then the brother came. We exchanged salams. Then we walked and we went to the office opposite. There we remained because Imran had some business with the tapes, and they were discussing the amount of discount they could obtain. And I waited, seated, listening to them talk. Right? And then we they concluded the business. There was no discussion of anything except one issue regarding Muhammad Yaqub, which no one differed upon and no one disagreed with. Then after that we left, we got into the car.
What was the issue of Muhammad Yaqub?
The issue of Muhammad Yaqub, that is not upon the Salafi methodology.
Who raised the question? You raised the question.
No, somebody called.
Muhammad Yaqub is the guy that he caught, going to, I think it's towards Afghanistan border. And he put him in prison and he came out, Muhammad Yaqub.
Right, anyway.
It was close with his house in Bradford.
Then we left.
A Scottish guy.
Then we left and we went to the takeaway. And we had something to
What was this issue, bro? You're going right around the corners. I'm asking you, what was the discussion you're going past? It was the issue of Yaqub, and then
that Muhammad Yaqub once was invited by the brothers in Manchester, and he gave a lecture, and openly he said that suicide bombing was okay or something in certain situations. It was okay, and it was mentioned at the time that the statement is not correct, and we agreed that you can't say those things.
That was the only discussion that took place.
Yeah, that was the only discussion.
What about when you went to, about your book, when you wanted to bring your book out, a book that you wanted to get printed, you went to Birmingham, could you remember?
Yeah,
it was quite a long time ago now. You went there and you took your book you wanted to bring out. So you asked the Ikhwan, when you went to Birmingham, could you remember? That's the Sanan, that's what I want to ask you about.
That was years earlier when I was in Jeddah.
Yeah, can you remember what it was though? Can you clarify that? Can you remember that time now?
That was in
when you said that, I read my book, the 40 hadith, and now and this is what I teach the people. I can't remember clearly. You can clarify to me the sitting When he was, you know, when you want to ask the brothers about the book that
No,
you
but
want to
that
get
was
printed.
when we first.
Yeah,
when
can you
I
clarify
first
that?
returned, when I
Okay.
first returned
Okay.
from Jeddah,
Mm.
me, Imran, and Mahmoud. Remember, we went to Birmingham because we wanted to sell the book.
Okay. And no conversation happened with
No,
you
and
and
then
Abu
we went to
Khadija?
the mosque,
Okay.
and that was in 90. That would have been in 98 when I
Yeah.
first returned.
98.
We went to the mosque, and we all sat in a big circle,
Yeah.
and we discussed issues of the dawah.
Yeah, what was the issue?
And the brother mentioned at the time that you shouldn't work with Suhaib Hassan and you shouldn't work with Abu Aliya.
Okay.
And we have never worked with these individuals. We've
Okay.
never invited them to give
Okay.
lectures or talks.
This is my point. Then we see you in a conference, recently now, going to a conference for my brother's statement here in Keighley.
It's not my, I mean,
In
the
Keighley.
nations because I wasn't there, the president of the conference. Majid, you were there, yeah.
Yeah, you
This
brought
is
me
not
the,
my-
it's come
yeah,
from you, the
all I-
nations
yeah,
come
yeah.
from this brother, from a person who saw you. Now he's here anyway, he can say yes or no in it.
Yeah, yeah.
At the ending of the conference, this is what I got from him, you told me. You said this come from you, the nation. I don't know who you got
Yeah,
it from,
it
but
came
this is
from
came.
somebody,
Yeah,
yeah.
need to clarify it
Yeah.
now. He's saying that, at the end of the conference, you wasn't there. I think it was Abdul Rahim Green not there. Who else? Who else was there?
So someone says to me, yeah, that Abdul Rahim, Yusuf, Adam, etc.
Right, so then let me explain the situation back
No,
in
let me
conference.
finish. So you've been giving a clarification about these people. Abdul Rahim Green, he's linked with Abu Ali and these people, yeah? He has a close relationship with these people, yeah? So then we see you in a conference. This is recently. How long ago was this conference? And who organised this conference? Explain
just
now.
after the Birmingham conference.
How long? 1 month, 2 months ago?
15th, wasn't it?
Do you understand now, Amjad? I'm not just bringing a scenario from there. I'm saying, did that happen? I want to clarify it today to see who we really with. Because this brother, ya Ikhwan, this brother,
get to the point.
Let me explain. This brother, Ikhwan, he's been given the down with the people. I know myself, and I don't praise no one above Allah, and I hope this is not to raise anybody higher. But I'm just saying that we know from Shaykh Fawzi al-Athri and from the other ulama who they recommend, the du'at in England, who they mention by name, ya Ikhwan. Now I just want to make clarification. They mention the people by name. Now me personally, Sajjaad in the dawah, I don't know how close he's been with the brothers, in the dawah. I mean, in the sense of the ikhwan who organize the main things, I haven't seen him around with any of the brothers. Not that I'm saying that he may not have no connection, but we don't see him around with the dawah, when the dawah's happening here and there. But we see him pop up in a conference organized by this guy called Taj, who spoke ill of Abu Khadija, and he said he took it back 3 or 4 times when he was working in the shop with him in al-Hidayah. And this individual is the one who, when every time you ask, yes, we're getting to the point. Every time you speak to Taj and ask him about questions, he goes, refer to Sajjaad. And this is the individual. Now look how we link the people. We link you by your company, as I told you, that's what the Salaf do. This is till now. We're not about past, we're about now. If you've been giving clarification from your brother Abu Khadija years ago about this matter, then we see you years ago, not with the brothers giving the dawah, with them together up on the conference with them. Because if you know the people of the haqq, we're with the people of the haqq. We be with them when we aid them, when we help them. We don't make a dawah by yourself, because we know from the statement, I think this is Sharia al-Jurri, he said, فَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ مَعَ وَاحِدٍ وَهُوَ مِنَ الْإِثْنَيْنِ أَبْعَدُ. Shaitan is with one person and from 2 is further away. And when you know there's a jama'ah of ikhwan who are giving the dawah mubarakah in this country, we are with them. Wallahi, we are with them, and this is not Hizbiyyah. Rather, this is the haqq, and we are with them, people. Whatever they say upon the way of the ulama, we are with them upon that. I never seen you, Sajjaad, with the ikhwa, with any of them brothers upon any platform or anything with them. So this is why I'm saying, and the only time I see you and I hear about you, you're in this conference recently, at the end you came, you're going to make a clarification, but at the end you came here, we judge you by your actions. Sajjaad was there, he's been giving clarification about these people. What's he doing with this man? And every time you argue with this man Taj, he goes, ask Sajjaad told me to do this. Sajjaad, the other time, I remember the last time I spoke to this man, he told me, I'm going to be teaching Aqidah Wasitiyah. This individual, Wallahi, you speak to this man is Jahil. And he said he's going to be teaching Aqidah Wasitiyah. He goes, Maturidi, Asha'ira, he's going to be teaching these issues. I said, who told you this? He goes, no, I'm going to give aspects. Anyway, if you got any problem, ask Sajjaad. Every time using this man's name that I'm going to be teaching Aqidah Wasitiyah. I said to him, Wallahi, in there, he was my witness. I said to him, none of the ulama say you teach Aqidah Wasitiyah. These are the books that we teach, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I mentioned the names to him. He goes, but you know what, if you got anything, ask Sajjaad. You understand now, Sajjaad? Why I'm saying this? Every time you mention this man's name, and this individual said, remember that time about the circles, that every time he mentioned Sajjaad in it, he mentioned Sajjaad's name. And he came at this last conference with Abdul Rahim Green. Who else was there at this conference? Yusuf Adam, who else? Ilyas Karamani. They was there, and we know Abdul Rahim Green, ya ikhwan. And these are the people he was told about before, and there we find him bobbing up at the end of the conference, being in this conference. Now you can clarify yourself for that. So I'm not just saying that the issues from the past, I'm saying today, clarify yourself. Who you with? Because if you're up on the haq, you're with your brothers. Wallahi, my brothers in Birmingham, my brothers in Middlesbrough. But I make effort to ring them and keep in contact with my brothers and go and travel and visit them. Because I know they're up on the haq, I'm going to be with them.
He wants to say something, let him come in.
Just regards to the conference, just to justice, inshallah, yeah. In about a few months prior to the conference which took place in Keighley, yeah, I used to be working at al-Hidayah. Okay, something to free myself from now, but I don't work there anymore because I know the evils this month. But with regards to that, we sat in Sajjaad's house and we discussed some issues. And Sajjaad clearly advised Taj not to call Abdul Rahim Green. He said he's someone who's got doubt upon him, so you should not call him. So Sajjaad clear upon that issue. And Taj, we all agree we will not call Abdul Rahim Green, yeah? Other we said let's call the likes of Hassan Somali and Abdul Rafiq and Abu Khadir, etc. etc. Yeah? But Taj would never do that. He would never do that, yeah? Now,
okay, and Taj
is a separate issue, yeah? Now Sajjaad...
No, Taj is not a separate issue, we're linking them together, there's no separate issue.
Let him speak.
Issue Sajjaad.
My brother is not a separate issue.
No, please. And basically when Sajjaad, he ended up in the conference in Keighley, yeah? Okay, and I think Sajjaad knows about the doubts about Abdul Rahim Green. And whenever in Bradford, some brothers saying, you know, like when I won against al-Kadhib bookshop, I says, you know, I've freed myself from it, and there's Abu Muslim, Yazid Qadi, and etc. etc. He goes, if Sajjaad is not won against you, yeah, who the hell are you to won against?
You understand now what I'm trying to say? He's using his statements with this man. And this man's got the al-Hidayah bookshop in Bradford, who fight against the Dawah Salafiyah. In Birmingham, they fight against our brothers and stuff. Hidden meetings against the brothers. Wallahi, they fight against Dawah Salafiyah and al-Hidayah that they're in Bradford as well. Just to clarify to the people, so you know who the people are.
In Bradford, it's Ilyas Karmani, the main da'i in Bradford, and there's Taj. Now Taj is, and the people do not realize, if they realize now, they realize tomorrow, he is one who is an enemy of the Salafi dawah in Bradford. He's causing so much harm, it's unbelievable. You know, he's bringing the people, taking them to Ilyas, Tawfiq Yusuf Jodri comes, he takes him to all these guys, and even to the point I've got a narration from Majid Buddha, he says, they are planning to bring Abu Ali and Abdul Rahim Green to Bradford. Now I don't know. This is just
who's trying to bring them?
No, Sajid said that. Yeah, and Sajid is the person who does not know, but he's heard the names Abu Ali and Abdul Rahim Green. Now Ilyas, clearly he made his position by not coming to the conference in when the.
That's right.
Many times they tried to advise him. Every time he's rejected to come to our.
Well, Ilyas is with Abdul Qadir.
Exactly.
That's right.
He loves that man.
Now Ilyas has been clarified and been given the seer, we gave the guy the seer, he's been given advice.
They all use Sajjaad, and then I have to be quiet because generally what I say to the brothers is that I only know good of Sajjaad. I said this to Intizar last time also, at the time, and then these brothers know what about Sajjaad more than I do, yeah, but Sajjaad needs to clarify himself with regards to these issues of al-Hidayah and these people.
Do you understand now? Do you understand Amjad? Why do you think I'm saying it's not one issue? Yeah, Ikhwan, is Allah's deen. We have to clarify in detail.
And I think this is the only.
And you can be looking around, and that's why I wasn't smiling. I haven't laughed through this meeting. Because I've looked at it as a serious matter.
Let's answer.
I remember a statement that Shaykh Muqbil mentioned.
We ask him a question, he goes, I was one.
Let him ask him a question, he's quoting Ibn Uthaymeen.
I know my brother, but you know, we know from Sajjaad, when we ask him a question, he goes round circles. Sometimes when we want clear the question, he goes right round down corners. I can quote statements as well, we want to clarify the situation.
Let him answer.
No, inshallah.
So, I remember a statement of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, in his explanation of Usul al-Thalatha, which is the book that we've all read and we've all studied. He mentions a nice point. He says, وَكَمْ مِنْ عَابِرَ الْقَوْلَ الصَّحِيحِ وَآفَاتَهُ الْفَحْمُ السَّقِيمِ, which translates to mean, and how many people speak about a matter or refute a statement which is correct, and do you know what their problem is? Al-Fahm al-Saqim is an understanding which is incorrect. As in relation to this matter
Saqim
of
meaning
Taj,
correct?
as in relation
Saqim does have the meaning of incorrect.
Diseased. As in relation to this matter of the
Saqim.
conference, Jazallahu khairan to Wasim. Right? Because brothers, right, I want you to try and use your intellects, and I want you to try and understand and think what I'm going to say. It's very, very important that you think about what I'm saying. Right? Try and use your brain that Allah gave you. That when Wasim came, okay, to my house with Taj he came.
When was this?
This was about 9 months ago.
Okay, nice free from that guy. That was 9 months ago. We're giving you dates and times to clarify to him. he knows he's
He
not with him
came.
now.
And he said that we need to do something about the dawah in Bradford. Okay? And he said, I want to organise a conference. Right?
I said this, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He said, I want to organise a conference and I want to invite. He said, the speakers I want is Abu Khatija, Hassan al-Somali, and you. He mentioned me. And then he said to me, but Abu Khatija is hated in Bradford. You remember?
Yeah, yeah.
So, bearing in mind the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa alayhi salam to go to Fir'aun وَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنْ and say to him a nice word, and he asked Allah to help him in certain ways, right? وَأَفْصَحَ مِنِّي لِسَانًا, that his brother who should accompany him, Harun, يُصَدِّقُني, in order that he can affirm what I'm going to say, based upon the fact that when you go to give a da'wah, وَدُّوا إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ, call to the way of your Lord with wisdom, وَمَوْذَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ, and a fair preaching. He said to me that, but Abu Khatija is hated. So I said to him, okay, when the scholars come to Birmingham, then ask them, go and ask them and invite them. Because, okay, if they dislike Abu Khatija, rather hate him, then perhaps they won't go and attend, right? They won't go. So go and ask the scholars, who nobody can criticise, and nobody's going to say, no, I don't want to attend. Do you all understand so far, brother? This is what I said to him 9 months ago. Why? Because I want the Dawah Salafiyah to be established in Bradford. I want them to return to the scholars, the muhaqqiqun, the true scholars, and the true people who associate themselves. I want that just as much as he. Do you know why? Because in that hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ of Anas, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه, and the narration in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad that Shaykh al-Albani authenticated, where he said لا يبلغ عبد حقيقة الإيمان حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه من الخير. And you know what Shaykh al-Albani said about that khair? He said هذه زيادة مهمة فإنه, because this ziyada is important, because تفسر المعنى بالدقة, because it explains the meaning of this hadith with completeness. And he says the greatest type of khair is in the deeniyya matters of the deen. So I want the guidance for the brothers in Bradford to return to the word, the Salafi methodology, just as you lot want it, and that's from Iman. So I said to him, go and ask the scholars, right, that they should come, and then they can't refuse, they can't have a reason. So anyway, it didn't happen. I don't know why. Then months later, and remember I go to Bradford about once every 6 months or a year. Months later, I find out about this conference. Right, I haven't seen Wasim for a long time now. I find out about this conference and the brothers who are mentioned. And not all of these brothers who are mentioned, I have no issue with any of these brothers. I consider them my brothers who are called into the correct da'wah.
Abdurrahim Green.
No, let me just
clarify. Abdurrahim Green, is
I'm
it
talking about his conference.
Oh, you know about this?
Yeah, his conference.
Clarify which conference, because I asked you about this conference. We ended up in that conference.
No, bro, just let him finish.
No, what was
Right.
the question raised, please? Just mind
The question raised that this brother was in the conference when Ilyas Karamani, Abdurrahim Green, and who else? Yusuf Adam, did you say? Yusuf Adam was there in the conference.
Right.
He ended up being there at the end. He came there.
So, anyway.
After
so
full well
then I
known, full
find
well
out.
advice of the people.
Right. Then I find out about this conference. So, I was surprised because, well, I wondered why the scholars were not going to come. But anyway, it wasn't a problem. Then I find out that the day that the conference is, there will be a walima. Right? So, I was a bit confused and trying to understand why. Right? Trying to understand why. Because the first group of people who ought to benefit from this conference and be guided are who? The people in Bradford. So the reason why I was confused is if it's the brothers in Bradford, then why is it that they're having a walima on the same day? Can you understand why I'm a bit confused? So I called Wasim and I asked him, so did you consult the brothers? right? And because of this statement, now I'm being held accountable for this statement.
My brother,
Because
don't take the down lightly.
because
don't take the deen lightly. We're not holding you accountable for that.
I'm saying, brother, it's common sense.
It's not
You
what
what?
you're saying.
I'm saying
the
it's-
Walima finished at
brother,
what time?
Intizar.
The
I'm
conference
saying
went on
it's
to
common.
9, 8, 9, 10
Intizar,
o'clock at
Intizar,
night.
be quiet.
Let
Be
me
quiet.
finish. Let
I'm
me
saying
answer it.
no person would differ with me on this issue. No one person would disagree. You want the brothers in Bradford to attend the conference. You want them to be corrected, to be guided. So remove every obstacle that they can have to stop them coming. Now they've got a perfect excuse. They can say, "Oh, but there's a walima, and we have to go to that." That's why I was sad.
Okay, but did you know the
was-
conference was
I
till
was-
9 and 10? That's the time it says the last talk was at
Just to be
7:30.
truthful, he did
We don't
mention
know,
that in the
but we don't know any
conference.
walima. Listen, we don't know
I
any
was
walima that
sad.
stayed till 7:30 at night.
Intizar.
We mentioned that, we've
Please,
written that.
Intizar. I was sad because the guidance that Allah has guided us to, the path of the Salafi, and there's no manhaj which is correct except that, is that now these brothers will have an excuse. So when I called Salim and I said to him, "I'm coming to Bradford and I hope to see you at the conference," you know what he said to me? He said, "But we have a walima and it's the first one we've had for a month." I thought, subhanAllah, this is exactly what I feared, that they're now going to use that. But I said, "Okay, what time is your walima going to finish?" He said, "About 6. I said, "Come after that." Right? Note, I'm saying, "Come to the conference after that." And you know what? He said, "Yes, I'm going to come." Then I said, tell to bring the other brothers too, like Ilyas. And he said, "Yes, I'll tell them." So I'm telling them to come to the conference. And did they come? No. They didn't come. Next time I see him, I'm going to ask him, "Why is it that if you said you were going to come, you didn't come?" Right? That's that issue.
So that
Now,
That's not even the issue. I'm asking you about Allah
Salim,
Musta'an.
that you know this is common. Know that this is common trait. This is why all
yeah,
of
but we'll
this
see, I
accepts.
don't know.
Says-
that.
No, not just a future reference here. Salim has been doing this with me many long, all the time. Yes, we'll come. Yes, we'll do this. Yes, we'll do that.
Wasim, do you understand what's going on?
No, I understand.
Brother, you knew upon this matter, you don't
He's gone
understand
completely
clearly.
from one conference to
I'm
I know.
asking one question clearly. No, then I'm asking a clear question to him. What was he doing in that conference
Right,
in
now I'm going to
Keighley?
tell you about
That's
this
the one I
conference.
asked you in the first place.
Now I'm going to explain, because the issue needs to be clarified, as you keep saying. As for the conference,
But you're not clarifying what I
Taj-
asked you.
Taj asked me months ago.
Months ago.
He said, I want you to come and speak at this conference. I said, "Who else is going to speak?" He said, "Abdul Rahim." I said, "Brother, don't do that. Don't invite Abdul Rahim." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because there are too many statements about him, so don't do it." So he said, "Okay, I won't." And then he said, "Now will you come?" I said, "Okay." Then later on it transpires that he is going to invite him. So I said, "So I'm not going to come and I'm not going to speak. I'm not going to do it." And he was upset. I said, "Taj, brother, don't do this. Don't invite people who there are words spoken about him and his methodology." Right? In the end he did it. Then on the last day I thought, if I'm going to have any opportunity to go and clarify to Abdul Rahim and clarify to the people who are there about the matter of the Salafi Dawah, then this is the time that I'm going to do it. So during the question and answer session of the last day, right, the last talk, I went there and I sat there. Then he invited me up to answer some of the questions, and it was about the issue of the jihad. However, and so I sat there and he gave me the question about the narration about the Jasasa and how to reconcile that with the fact that he's a man from Bani Adam who will be born and die. But the point is that the only opportunity I had is when they questioned me regarding not wearing a topi. So I explained to them what Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen said, and from the understanding of the Salaf, I mentioned the narration of Nafi'.
Can you stop you there, inshallah? You know, the thing is, should you have been there? Because what you did is you promoted this conference.
No, I didn't promote the
you
conference.
have-
enforced it by standing.
You've been
on the
there
same
and you've
platform.
You know what people? Do you know what people
My
will say?
brother,
that-
look, this is someone who's
Shaykh
been about
Muqbil
recent.
bin Haadi's got a cassette,
Yeah.
a recent cassette on the subject of cooperation with people upon Hizbiyyah, and within that cassette he breaks it down into 3-4 categories. But basically he says that those the fourth category says that those people who believe they can do some good and who cooperate with those people, then what they do is something that is not befitting. He uses the word that it's not befitting that they do this, and I see them to be in error, even though they think they're doing good. But this is something of error, because they're just adding to the like adding to the numbers that are with these people and supporting them, and they're being used by these people for their own ends, even though they might think that they're doing something good. So he says that this is something that's also not befitting, and it should be avoided. So so I think that's probably the issue that he's probably
right,
got.
so in light of that, my action of going there was a mistake. It's incorrect, and I ask Allah to forgive me. And I'll make the clarification in public. Right? Later on, when we returned to Taj's house, I was there, Yusuf Adam, Abdul Rahim and Sajjaad from Accrington. We arrived at his house about 10 o'clock. We left at 2 o'clock in the morning. Right? Now, when Yusuf Adam wrote his piece about this and mentioned it on the internet, what he neglected to mention is that I sat there speaking to Abdul Rahim for about 3 hours regarding the issues of Safar, Salman, Abul Hassan, al-Misri, Thumma al-Ma'rabi, and other issues about following, and the other issues about following the major and the senior scholars like Shaykh Rabi, etc., clarifying or trying to clarify those issues. But he neglected to mention that, and there's no problem with that. But at 2 a.m. when we left his Taj's house, from Abdul Rahim, I realised that this person, and again, perhaps he just said it to me, I don't know, but it appears that when I told him what Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullaah, his last statements were about Safar and Salman, and when I told him what Shaykh Muhammad ibn al-Banna, and I asked, and we were there in Jeddah when we sat and spoke to Shaykh al-Banna hafidhahullah, and his statements about Safar and Salman, when I mentioned that, he seemed to as though he'd not heard of this before, as though this was the first time he had heard it. So I don't know, but the point is, when I sat and spoke to them, I felt that was my obligation at that time, to advise him and correct him. And then we left at 2 a.m.
I think the issue is that obviously that with that public presence, to those people who generally attended, it might seem as if that everyone who's on the platform are together, and that's maybe something that people like Daj and other people are using against you, from your actions. Like they're probably using your actions with them to justify what they're upon, and to increase their own numbers and whatever that they're upon, which is why probably it's good for you to make it clear to the people, or to break that attachment so that they can't use that anymore, and obviously put you in a situation that's not to your liking. I think probably that's what the issue really boils down to. Every single
no, but the clarification has to be made of al-Hidayah, Taj, the issue of Hidayah, Taj, his conferences, the people who's there.
One thing that I always see, and I'm telling you, this is one thing just to go out from here, is that, like, says, with regards to in Bradford, I had some brother sat down,
and this guy Yusuf Adam, sorry, the last time he was forget, he's in Leeds, he was in Leeds,
he's in Leeds, but forget the issue.
And he was the conference with, what's his name, do you know that guy? Bilal, that guy they call him Bilal, but we call him Bawalpuri. He's saying with that guy who opens his book with the Tabligis and gives it, he was with him.
Yusuf Adam in London,
and my brother brought me this, remember?
I sat the brother, I sat the brothers in Bradford, and I brought the Shaykh Fawzi al-Adri's letter, okay, and in there he names by person the is in the West, and he says Amjad Rafiq and Abu Khadija and Abu Talha and Abu Hakim, and I said the brothers, and they asked me, I said, apart from these are the brothers I trust, but these are the people the Mashaykh and the Tulab al-Ilm have spoken about, so these are the ones I trust. I said with regards to Sajjaad or anybody, then until we don't get clarification from even the brothers that we trust who recommend them, we will not take them as a source of knowledge. And one thing Sajjaad I've seen from you is that you must, and I know you say you don't keep in contact with people that much around the country, but still we see you more in contact with Ilyas than we see you with brother Amjad Rafiq and Abu Khadija, and you have to keep in contact, because you're in a public stage now. People are looking at you, people are looking at every action you make. You have to be in contact with the brothers, and in this there'll be no doubt upon you, and they will not give the people the opportunity of doubt to have doubt upon you.
So what is at this particular moment in time, was, as you're probably aware, with the fitna of Abu Hassan al-Ma'rabi and some of his principles that he's been speaking now, it's a situation where really as Salafis we've really got to make or be very, very careful as to the kind of people that we mix with, and the kind of people that we cooperate with, and the kind of people that we're seen with, because obviously as people who are calling others to the Salafi Dawah, it creates an impression on the minds of other people, and this type of thing, like in this moment in time when there's so much confusion, it's vital for the Salafis to try and make sure that they sit with each other, they cooperate with each other, and they make that, and the company is spend with each other, and not to act in such a way that it's going to be used against them, and that their actions can be used by other people, obviously, to harm the Salafis and to harm the Salafi Dawah, and to make them feel that they're justified in doing what they're doing. And this is what these people sometimes do, as Shaykh Ubaid said, that talking about when people cooperate, even though they might from the ijtihad they think that's something good, then in reality the people who benefit from the most are the people who are upon that Hizbiyyah or whatever, and they say, well look, this person's with us and he's on our platform, whatever, and then they use it to justify what they're upon to other people. And that type of behaviour is what we as Salafis need to be more careful and more tight with, and to be very, very careful and think, how is our action going to be interpreted and how is our action going to be used. And I think probably that's the issues that are being raised, in which need to be addressed for the benefit of the dawah as a whole.
Do you understand now why I brought the whole issue from the beginning, from Abu Fadl all the way to the end? For a reason, because you're giving the dawah now, you're in Lelson, and I heard you go to Keefli as well, give circles there as well. In Keefli, could you clarify that issue as well, please? Because Taj is the one who organises this, what I know. If I made a mistake, clarify it now. Because I heard you go there and you give circles there.
As for going to Keefli for the Wasatiyah lesson, then we've noticed that there are more brothers who go from Nelson to Keighley. There are normally about 2 or 3 brothers from Keighley.
Who's organising it? Who's organising it, Sajjaad? This lesson that you do in Keighley, who organises it?
Taj.
And is this
Taj
man
fixes a day and a time. As for those people
you
who
understand now,
attend,
this man is still there, giving the circles in there. So now you see the confusion for the people. They take Sajjaad as a brother, they go learn. They take him here, take him there, take him there, everywhere. That's why this dawah has to be clear.
As for the people who attend, right, then most of them are from Nelson, right? Now, Taj is sometimes there and sometimes is not there. As far as I'm concerned, whether Taj is there or not, it doesn't matter. Because if I don't go to Keighley, then Jimas would have moved in a long time ago. Or one of the brothers who's already there, who's from Lashkar al-Tayyiba, would have promoted his jihad there a long time ago, and you would have had a few recruits going off there. So if I don't now go there that one day on Sunday, then without doubt, somebody else would be there.
You know the thing is here, this individual Taj, we know he has.
Do you make clarification as regards position?
Wait a minute, Bashar, it's not even that. Let's go to the Asl, the individual's calling him. Because this individual is calling him, you're saying you're being clarity. One thing here, you're confusing your own brothers first. Taking to that confusion, taking him there with this man Taj, because they're going to get to know him and be close to him, because he's our brother, we've come to the circle. They're confusing.
Who's the
brothers,
Taj is the
Taj,
owner of al-Hidayah book.
that's the one brother I showed you in Birmingham once, on the conference day, he went past and said, that's Taj. I showed his brother here,
I'm telling you,
he also, let me just clarify this point. This man here, before you go Bashar into issue, explain to him, does he make clarification? Let's speak about this man here, Taj. If he said he's bringing the clarification, and if he doesn't give the clarification, somebody else is going to come. This man anyway mixes with everybody anyway. So what benefit is going to bring you? He's going to mix. Today is going to bring you, and tomorrow is going to bring something that's going to refute your statement, and the next day is going to bring somebody else who's going to refute that statement. So the people, there's going to be no tarbiyah.
This Taj, is he like active in organising events?
Yeah, I'll tell you what his methodology. Let's
he knows
get
the
the people off the streets and into them, in basically start the basic call to Tawheed. But if anybody, Abdul Rahim Green or Tawfiq Chaudhry, even Abu Alio came, he would take them and he would not.
Well, he hates our brothers in Birmingham, and if he hates them, brother, he hates us. Because we're upon one way, one thing.
And speaking, he says, and this if he said this about statements like the self-mullah of Middlesbrough and Abu Khadija, and he says evil statements about Abu Khadija. The statements I can remember.
So this man we know he's a fighter.
I've heard these statements from
he's the one who told me all the
statements. But then what he does is, he says, oh, but I didn't mean that, or detracts it just so that he can save himself, so you can't use it against him. He's been playing games for
the reason why, because I was there at that time.
Yeah.
The reason why he retracted it was because to see how would you respond.
Yeah, but what did you say about Abu Khadija?
Just to get him going, because he goes, I've been working with him.
Yeah.
I don't know how he would react to get you going.
Because there's a love for his brothers. That's why anybody retracts because nobody's there.
What about Abu Khadija?
I wasn't there during that time.
Did he speak about good about Abu Khadija? You know what he speaks about Abu Khadija?
You said he was there though?
No, but at a particular time.
He's all about a particular statement.
Comment just to see.
Does he make it clear that he's basically not upon the dawah of like brothers in Birmingham.
No,
and against
no. Definitely, 100% he's made that clear. 100%. 100%.
See, this is why.
But do you understand? So why are we linking it up to Brother Sajjaad now? He mentions his name.
Because we've got a guy in Middlesbrough who's exactly like. Just because people say two different things, that we've got a guy in Middlesbrough, basically what he does is that he goes to different people, he susses them out, and depending how far he can get with them, right, he'll take it that far. With other people, he'll say, oh, mashallah, you're going to go to the conference or whatever.
That's exactly.
And to other people, he'll go to someone else, and I know he poisons them with absolute. Because I know they've all come out. You see, if you bring them all together, and you get all the information together, you can see clearly what's going on.
You know, so prime example, just quickly remember, inshallah, the Imam Niyaz. He's a young brother. He's not much into the deen. He comes to his shop after a long time. What did Niyaz say? Abu Khadija. He says about him. Or do you know what Shaykh Ali Hassan said about Abu Khadija? Now, how could they've taken that from the guys in Al-Rock and Israr
and
Luton and these people. Now, how can this person go to such a young guy who doesn't know much about deen whatsoever, and he wants to bring doubt upon him?
The same thing is going on in Middlesbrough as well. We've got people narrating things which they've taken from Al-Rock, or they're taken from Luton, or they're taken from the other Hizbiyyahs. So you think that these guys don't know nothing about this thing, where they're taking it from?
Exactly.
But you understand what we're saying about Sajjaad, how we begin the whole scenario now? Everybody understand?
Now,
we're speaking like Juan.
The brother in Bradford,
is it clear?
Is
it clear? Do you understand?
Inside, can you finish?
Yeah, do you understand? You know why? Because this day and age, as my brother said, this day and age, because the person's
but he's just made it clear that he's not with them.
No, he hasn't made anything clear about Taj and anything yet.
Let me explain. In Bradford, I live in Bradford, I'm telling you, they see two groups, Birmingham and Ilyas, Sajjaad, Salim and those brothers. That's the group that they see, coming from. So they say Sajjaad is with us, meaning Ilyas, Salim, Abdul Rahim, Green, Taj.
This is a brother who knows more affairs and Bradford than all of us here.
With them. Why? It's because Sajjaad, and I think he would agree that he hasn't distanced himself from people, and he has to distance himself and affiliate with themselves.
Every time I see them, I advise them in relation to these matters. So that's not true.
Okay, Sajjaad.
Every time I speak to Salim or Ilyas or Taj, even in relation to the brothers in Birmingham, right, in relation to his affiliation with Hidayah, then I advise him to stop doing these things. I advise him to do that. I told you, at the end of the day, I don't have to go to Keighley, right? There's 2 or 3 brothers there in Keighley who attend the lesson. I could just stay in Nelson and do the Wasatiyah lesson there. I could just stay there, right? And then you wouldn't be able to say, Sajjaad has a connection with Taj. You wouldn't be able to say that.
My brother, you know what? We don't look for points of our brothers. We want this dawah to be clear and pure. When you see me in a place like that, and if you brothers never came to me and clarified to me, I would say that you people are not sincere to me.
And you're speaking. If I decided now, right, after all, there are only 2 or 3 brothers who attend in Keighley anyway. Let's not bother going there. Let's just stay in Nelson. I could easily do that, right?
Sajjaad, you know what? You're missing the issues of manner completely. What we're saying.
I could easily do that.
Sajjaad, my brother, you know what is? You're missing. Missing loads and loads of points here.
No, I'm not.
It's simple. It's clarify yourself. Clarify your position.
And which I have been doing all along.
My brother, you know what? We're on about Taj, these circles. When you go there, you're confusing your own brothers.
Ask him if he's confused. He goes, ask him if he's confused.
Okay, you know when you was going...
Imran, are you confused?
Imran, when you was going there, what did you think was some...
I think the issue is that with like the cooperation that is there loosely with the likes of these people like Taj or whatever, obviously for the maslaha of the dawah or whatever, I think there needs to be some sort of like disassociation to a degree where people are not linking yourself with the likes of Taj and with the likes of these people who clearly, from what these guys are reporting and rating, that they clearly have got a problem with the other Salafi brothers, and not making that disassociation in such a way is something that's going to harm the dawah. We're not talking about specific people like Taj himself or some of the other people who are involved who you might be advising on a personal level, one-to-one, whatever. That's for their benefit as individuals.
Right.
However, what's being addressed here is that on a wider scale, on the people who are onlooking, and for the benefit of the dawah as a whole in this country, it's important that whatever dawah is organised and performed, it's done while it's made clear that there's disassociation from the likes of these individuals and that we're not with them, and they're not organising and we're doing it of our own accord. So if something can be done on that basis, even if it's going to harm even if it seems that it's going to harm the dawah in Keithley, that's besides the point, because in the long term, these kind of things affect the dawah on a long term basis rather than the small term basis that you see in I'll give an example. Like, for example, in Middlesbrough, there's a guy who's similar to the guy that they're describing here, and he might organise classes for me, right? So I could go to Middlesbrough and I could sit with the guys in Middlesbrough, and I'm sat there and they all know he's organised it. So one by one I still talk to these guys, right? However, further down the road in Leeds or Birmingham or somewhere else, you got other people, because people now are in contact with each other, like Luton in contact with Birmingham, like the Adam Rock people in Leeds. So you've got this network of people who are always in touch. So now people think, this man in Middlesbrough, these are the things that he says about the guys in Leeds, or the guys like in Nelson, or he says these things about the guys in Birmingham, and Amjad's cooperating with him, and he's coming to his circles that are being organised by him. So this shows that Amjad ain't got a problem with him. And so then these people go around and they start using myself to support the. So now to me, I think, well, okay, if I don't go to those circles, those few guys are gonna who's gonna teach them, whatever. But that's not the point. The point is that that's just a small localized problem that, okay, is something which could be in your control, might not be in your control. Allah knows best. But in terms of the dawah as a whole, it's first of all causing a harm. First of all, it's confusing the people who were there to begin with, right? Because it's making them think that I'm with this guy. Number two, it's creating like splits amongst the Salafis as a whole, because they think, well, why is that guy with those guys and his alarm is like that, and then it causes these kind of tensions between the Salafis which we don't need. We need to be one and together, and that's the second problem that arises from that type of thing. And the third thing is maybe it's the same as the first one, that it just strengthens what these people are upon of confusion and misguidance and whatever else it might be. So I think these concerns like transcend beyond the specific individuals who are concerned, whether it be Taj or whether it be some of the other, I don't know the names, whatever. Yeah, but it's more from that angle that this is how people need to look at their actions and behaviours, especially when they're out doing dawah. And that tape of Shaykh Ubaid, inshallah, if I manage to get a copy of it, it deals with this specific subject. And he deals specifically with this thing about the cooperation with his people upon confusion or Hizbiyyah, how it is, what is its forms, conditions, and the form. And you find in there Shaykh Ubaid clearly says that this type of thing is not befitting at all, because it just benefits the people who are upon or who are opposed to what the Salaf is upon. So here the issues are really trying to unite the words of the Salafis and make them all together and one, so that the lines can be drawn clearly between those who are clear and those who are unclear, whether it's like your likes of Ilyas or the Staj, or these are the people who are all upon confusion and who are with the likes of Luton and other people who are upon Hizbiyyah. And that's what the issue really boils down to. It boils down to the benefits of the dawah in the long term, and to make sure that the way you behave and the way you conduct the dawah and your sittings and your appearances and things like that these are done in such a way that first of all it saves you from having any people using your behaviour in the wrong way, and secondly, it doesn't allow any tensions and rifts between you and your Salafi brothers, so that we can all be one and together and proceed on the dawah in the right way. Even if by making those changes you might see like a small damage to the whatever dawah is taking place right now, but inshallah it'll have long-term benefits which are far-reaching in keeping unity between the Salafis, and keeping not just like on a local level like we've got here, but also on a national level, because people can now clearly see, oh yeah, that this brother he's with that brother and he's with that brother and he's that with brother, and they're all together and they're working together. And as for these guys, there's something else, so they can see the clarity that the line's clearly drawn. Otherwise that confusion just perpetuates, and it does more harm than it does actually any good. So maybe I think that's the
that's the crux of the matter. That's what, isn't it? That's the clarification. هذا الحق باطل, as Allah Jalla wa Ala says, فَمَاذَا بَعْدَ الْحَقِّ إِلَّا الضَّلَالِ. Imam Qurtubi said, between haqq and batil there's no third thing. He said the haqq or batil.
So that's,
we don't mix with it. If we mix with it, we only compromise in it, take a bit of
that's the gist of what it's what emerges from the issues that have been raised. That's basically what the gist of it seems to be. So it's nasiha just to everyone, all of us, with respect to this issue, because now with this recent fitna of Abu al-Hasan al-Ma'rabi, one of the reasons why this Abu al-Hasan al-Ma'rabi he went astray and he did what he did was because he himself, he didn't break off ties completely with the people of Hizbiyyah. He's there with Aidul Qarni, he's in a house with Salman al-Awda, he's there, going on the platform, and he's thinking, and this type of thing is something that now the damages and the harms of it are being seen now. We don't need to do this thing either. We need to be careful of this thing. Same with the Urdu's, Jordanians, what they're doing, they're going to Toronto, they're sitting on the platform, this Masjid Khalid ibn Walid, who are Aruris and Hizbis or whatever, and so whose dawah are they strengthening and whose numbers are they increasing? So this type of thing are the things that Shaykh Rabi right now and Shaykh Ubaid right now and the other mashayikh, that they're dealing with specifically and trying to advise the Salafis in every place to be very, very careful with respect to these things, because these things over time, the amount of damage they cause to the dawah are phenomenal. So maybe I think this is the point that's actually been raised, and these are some of the concerns, and maybe it's just nasiha for us all to to try and be careful with respect to this thing, inshallah.
I hear a question on that, yeah. I think that's everybody agrees that cleared everything, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're saying that you can pass that table, Shaykh.
Yeah.
But what's it called? In terms of cooperating with people in dawah, like sitting on the same platform and everything, yeah. That ends up promoting them as well.
Yeah.
That's clear, yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't this a separate thing to go out?
Yeah.
Right, and teach people. I know there's harm in it as well, yeah. But what I'm saying is we can't give a fatwa on that, can we? To say you can't do that because then that's a fatwa in it.
No, this specific situation basically. That you refer it back to the scholars and say you because the scholars what they give consideration to. I'll give an example. One of the sheikhs, I think it's Shaykh Ubaid himself, whatever. That when you look, for example, when you look at a mosque, you don't look at a mosque by the fact that so many Salafis that go to the mosque. You look at the administration of that mosque, and that's how you judge what that mosque is. Could be an Ikhwani mosque, could be Ikhwanis who control the mosque, but it could be like 80% Salafis attending that mosque purely because of geographical location or whatever it might be. So now would you say that that's a Salafi mosque, or do you say it's an Ikhwani mosque? It's an Ikhwani mosque, right? So this is how the Shaykh answered the questions to numerous people who put the situation to them about mosques and things like that. Similarly in this situation, that if for example the person who's organising and coordinating whatever it might be, whether it's a conference or whether it's circles or whatever it might be, and he is whatever he is, then whether you got 10 Salafis come into that talk, or whether you got 3 Salafis or whatever, then that is still an event which is organised by someone who's upon Hizbiyyah or someone who's got aversion to the Salafis. And the fact that that's taking place, even though we might not see it now, but in the long term it might cause problems to the dawah which would probably outweigh whatever benefit has been done to those specific individuals. You know what I mean? And historically speaking, we've seen this happen many times. With people like Abu Ali, with people like Hidayah, with people like this type of thing is historically it's happened and people have experienced it. That this thing over time, if it's not dealt with in the right way, it leads to more problems and harms. So
I'm saying we can't give a fatwa on that section coming. Because
we're giving you principles, we're not giving fatwa.
I'm clarifying that. No, I totally agree with you.
As general rules, there's not the ta'awun. There's not the ta'awun.
He's giving the issue of ta'awun, making
someone might go away and then say, oh, that guy did a circle there, and those people did dawah to him, he's gone against us, but no, you know what I mean?
No, once it's clear.
Like last time, what was it, when we had a meeting with, and it was Brother Bilal Davis and al-Khidaa and Ilyas and others. This is a few years ago, maybe other issues were going on. Maybe we've got more new issues regarding brothers now. But then before it was like, one of the issues was, how come you're going to Brother Ilyas, go to like the bookshop and give circles and stuff like that. And he says, well, if I don't give dawah, who's going to give the dawah? I know these people from a long time ago, and stuff like that. So al-Khidaa and Bilal Davis says,
they said what?
Fine. They said that's fine.
Are you sure? Because I can't remember that.
Yeah,
that's not an issue. That's not an issue. It can be clarified, whatever. But the point is here is that.
So that sorry, actually. I said that as long as there's no conditions on it. He said there's no conditions on me. So the person goes.
I can't remember that.
It was the last question from you. Because we said, is there anything else?
No, that's not an issue. Not an issue. With respect to these people, obviously, when he goes there, he's got to clarify to them where they oppose and differ from the truth.
That's right.
And not spend like a long time and they left upon whatever they're upon. Even with respect to that, like now in light of the fitna of Abu Hassan and these other things, because some of these fitnas, they're good. In a way they're bad, and in a way they're good. Fitna of Safar and Salman, and Iyaad Turath and Arun, all these from an angle they're bad in the sense that it damages, but in a way it's good because it just adds further clarity for the Salafis who are still upon the truth, and it clarifies for the deen. So now with respect to these types of issues, like going to these people upon the dawah of Safar and Salman and these types, it's best for us as Salafis to avoid spending our time to try and call them, and instead try to teach ourselves the Aqidah and the manhaj and the dawah, and this is what we need, because our biggest problem is that we're not grounded in affairs of Aqidah or in affairs of manhaj from a practical point of view. We don't know how we're supposed to behave, how we're supposed to deal with these situations, and that's because of our jahl. We don't know these things. So instead of wasting time and resources dealing with the likes of these people, we have to improve. This is what Shaykh Ubaid said in a conversation he had in one of his telephones, where he said that if I was to go to a place, he's speaking about Ihya Taraf, if I was to go to a place and I found there 2 or 3 Salafis and a masjid full of like 100 or whatever, I would say, take me straight to those Salafis, and I'm going to sit with them and I'm going to teach them. Allah. Right? This is what he said. We've got it on tape. So the point we're trying to make now is that now, we don't need this type of Bilal Phillips and Abdul Rahim Green type of dawah, like you go to the Tablighees and the Ikhwanis and you claim that you're going to make dawah to them. But forget that type of nonsense, because first of all, that type of dawah is for the people of knowledge, who are grounded in ilm and whatever, who will go there, and they will, people like Shaykh Ubaid or people like Ibn Baz or the likes of them at that level, when they go to these people and they invite them to what's correct. As for people like us, this is not for us. And it's better that we stick together and we mutually benefit each other in whatever we know of the deen and whatever we can teach. And this way we increase knowledge amongst ourselves. And that way, on a personal level, each person can go out and he can give dawah to whoever is within his, like his family or his friends or whatever, in a more efficient way. Why waste resources in doing that when it's more beneficial this way? And that's what you find the scholars are upon, and that's what we're trying to say, is that this is how the dawah should be reoriented, and this is how we should behave. This is how we should behave to benefit the Salafis more than we trying to invite the people of bid'ah and dalala. It's important that this is how we begin.
And just one thing I'm just saying about, obviously we need to all humble ourselves for Allah as well, because we know, if we know that the people are the ones who are giving the dawah. I remember the Ikhwan, they came to me and they said, try to do a circle this, and I was saying that I don't want to do it, because I know Ikhwan, the people you always distinguish, who know how to give the dawah. So we know your level, everybody knows their level. Some people may raise somebody, but Allah Jalla wa Ala knows, and the person himself knows the level of the individual. Sometimes if you know that this brother is giving the dawah, refrain and let the people who know better to do the dawah. And this is from the goodness, and if you humble yourself for Allah, Allah will raise you. That if there's other people who are giving the dawah, who are distinguished, better, who can guide the people who link with the ulama, who always bring you statements and aqwal from the ulama, let them do the job. Not everybody is the one who claims to be a da'i is a da'i, and the ones who are the du'at, they are known. So the people who are known, stick with them and humble yourself. First and foremost, myself, the people who know the dawah, stick with them and learn and benefit. Wallah, I was in Yemen, I benefit so much from my brothers in Birmingham. Even now, so with all the brothers here who come benefit every day, and I sit there without no pride and nothing, sit and learn with my brothers. Because they are people, mashallah, we don't praise no one above Allah, who are more a'lam than the manhaj than us. They have more knowledge than the manhaj and the issues of this dawah, because they was in the dawah a long time before us. They preceded his age and in ilm. So leave it to the people who know better. That's all I want to say, and Allah knows best.
And the final thing is that now we're going to see action from the people. Just like Intizar says, we look at the action of the people. That's what we did the people upon, because that's all that we can see. Is that firstly, Sajjaad obviously makes a clarification upon Abu Fadl. Secondly, he distances himself from the likes of al-Khidaa, Taj, etc., etc. And thirdly, he has to keep in contact with the brothers who we know to be upon this dawah, which is Amdi Rafiq, Abu Talha, Abu Khadija, Abu Hakim, Hassan Somali, etc. Because if you don't, Sajjaad, I can guarantee you the same thing will happen in 2 weeks down the line, 2 months. People will say, who is he with? Is he with them? Oh, he is with them. Is he with Ilyas, etc., etc. And the same problem is going to happen again. So you must keep in contact. Even though I know sometimes it's difficult, but you must keep contact with the good brothers. And this nasiha will come, and inshallah we can stay firm upon this.
This is a mutual contact.
No, inshallah.
You understand? No. Mutual contact.
What does that mean? I don't know clearly.
Both ways. It means both ways.
No.
I think it's important that the point that we get across is that our dawah has to be distinct, and that whatever's been put in place before, it needs to be reoriented such that no one can actually use our actions and our behaviour to use it against us, and to say, well, okay, he's over with them, and if the people start having that perception, sometimes you can tell from the perception of people when they speak that if they are thinking that in their minds, a group of people are not people who are stupid. The intellects combined together, when they have a thought and a perception of something, they're not all stupid, and they're not all seeing something that's false. They're actually seeing something. So if that perception is being perceived by the people, it means that there's something in our behaviour which is allowing them to have that perception. So what is that? And that needs to be changed and needs to be addressed. So I think that's what the point, basically, the crux of the matter, what it really actually boils down to. And this goes for you know, inshallah, all the Salafis in every place, something we need to be careful about.
Go back down.
Are you Frisha?
Oh yeah. What?
Because now this, yeah, a lot of no,
جزاكم الله.